Week 2 wraps up with a doubleheader. First up, the Toronto Argonauts raising their 19th championship banner today in front of their home crowd. Also, the first 10,000 fans receiving replica championship rings. And they're all hoping the Boatmen pick up their first win of the season against the visiting Calgary Stampeders. Week 1, the Argonauts gave up 163 rushing yards against Montreal. You see, that's a problem because of this man, Dedrick Mills, who was absolutely sensational. 94 yards, 3 touchdowns on 17 carries in week number 1. On the other side, with Chad Kelly still recovering from the leg injury, Nick Arbuckle under center for a second straight week. 273 yards against Montreal, which isn't too shabby, but the big problem was the turnovers. He had 2 INTs in this game, and ball security should be problem number 1 for the Argos if they want to get past the Calgary Stampeders. I'm Kay Burness, that's Enoch Mwamba and Davis Sanchez. Is there anything better than double dip on a Saturday? I mean, this is exactly where I want to be with the two of you. And Ches, we were talking in the green room before this one, but I just mentioned it, and it was those turnovers for the Argonauts. And then you look at a guy like Mills who can absolutely take over a game. I mean, they got to be really careful in this one.
Yeah, when I look at Calgary and look at last week, I would feel good if I'm a Stamps fan with VA. They bring VA over there. He gives you what you want. He's explosive down the field. You just want to take away some of the turnovers. And so if they could run the ball, if that's going to really help them, not put so much pressure on VA and also control the clock and keep Argos defense that has a lot of new faces at bay. So I think that's key to have this rush game. Don't put too much pressure on VA. The couple interceptions he had last week were versus pressure looks. Let's get that run game going and allow VA in comfort, in rhythm to throw the football.
And you know what? On the other side, I'm looking at the running game. They are going to have to establish that running game. Yes, they have a lot of things to figure out as far as the defense is concerned with the Toronto Argonauts. But Nick Arbuckle is going to be a huge question. We're still trying to figure out who is Nick Arbuckle. This whole team is trying to figure out, the whole city is trying to figure out who is Nick Arbuckle. And so the running game is going to be important. D-Money, who we call Deontay McMahon, as well as Mayan Williams. I'm excited to see what he's going to do tonight because last week they were practically invisible last week.
By the way, did you get any of the championship rings? Did you get any of the replica ones?
Not yet, but hopefully I'm going to get one sent to the house.
No, you're not. But who is getting his? Your old friend, Flo Rimolade. Tavares Daniels giving him his new bling, the former Argo. And Argo fans are hoping that he doesn't have a great game today. We'll see what happens. Argonauts Stampeders from BMO Field coming up.
We more ready, we more ready, it's war. We more ready, we more ready, we more ready for war. I have seen all of this happen before. I feel the fire that burn in my core. I will extinguish your fire and make you expire and you will not burn anymore. We more ready, we more ready, we more ready, it's war. We more ready, we more ready, we more ready for war. I have seen all of this happen before. I feel the fire that burn in my core. I will extinguish your fire and make you expire and you will not burn anymore.
Thank you, Kate, and welcome to the 6. And it is, of course, a banner night here for the Double Blue. The Argonauts, as they come in 0-1 against the Calgary Stampeders. So many relationships, Paul Appleby's, throughout time between these two franchises. This offseason, it was a connection via trade that's really made all the headlines.
Yeah, Fuller and Rimolade, he comes over. Dave Dickinson said, hey, we need better playmakers on defense. We need guys who can make things happen. Who better than Flo to get into your building? Outstanding player, 6th season in the Canadian Football League. That's the player they needed to get that could make everything better. Makes your pass secondary players better. He's got the pass rush he wants now. Now, when you give up, you got to give up great players to get good players. What they have to do, they were able to get Cameron Judge. Had to be traded over to the Toronto Argonauts. That was Calgary's Defensive Player of the Year. A very good, outstanding football player, Mark. Marshall.
Yeah, Dave Dickinson said he was a little bit surprised that they were offered that trade between Falarno Rimolade and Cam Judge, and Ryan Dinwiddie, of course, at the helm for the Toronto Argonauts as he's looking to turn around what was an ugly loss for the Toronto Argonauts against the Montreal Alouettes in week number 1. Dave Dickinson hopeful that he can just refine what they did in that week 1 victory against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. They were in control pretty much from start to finish against the Tabbies, but they know that they have lots left on the table as well as we get set to roll the ball out for the first time here at BMO Field in 2025. Plenty of celebrations to be had looking back on last year, but of course these Argonauts, they are focused on moving forward, and they will do that with Nick Arbuckle at the helm tonight. Chad Kelly still out of the lineup, but Calgary won the coin toss and gets the football first. 19 degrees and sunshine here on the lakeshore as the Stampeders return it out across the 35-yard line to the 37, and we'll get our first look at Vernon Adams Jr., who last week had 33 yards rushing and, of course, racked it up 38 points offensively, even without scoring a touchdown himself.
317 of their 428 yards were handled by this football player with his running and passing. He is a 39-22 as a starter, 5 different teams. Amazing football player.
They'll be staring down the middle of that defense. Winton McManus, always a great challenge on the other side of the football. Number 5 in the TSN top 50 players of 2025 is VA. Quick run fake and gets it into the hands of Reggie Beggleton. Now carries on a 72-game catch streak as Calgary's starting offense lines up around Beggleton and VA like this.
Deontay Demery, third-year player, excellent on film. He's going to be tested this week. Why? Because the defensive rush on the other side of the football. He's going to face Clark Barnes last week. First 100-yard gain, 4 catches, 112 yards. The longest catch of week 1, 65 yards.
Clark Barnes' explosive playmaking ability finally starting to come into his own here. As VA now plays on second down and short, they go back to the running game that was so dominant in that week 1 victory against Hamilton, stacked up and turned around right in the middle of that defense. Andrew Chatfield Jr.
Second and short as they try to get that little bit of a tight zone play going, but the penetration from the backside is what gets there. They beat the block off the outside. Really good push on the inside, making that play. Really got to not allow penetration. Jordan Williams gets the penetration you need to be able to stop on a second and short.
And there's an injured Calgary Stampeder down, and it's Reggie Beggleton who was grabbing at the back of his right leg and extremely gingerly rolling over right now with Vernon Adams Jr. next to him. And Reggie looks like he is in a lot of discomfort right now. So we will step away as Beggleton just gets his 72nd straight game with a catch, but down on the turf. You never want to see a player down on the turf, but certainly one of the captains of this organization, 8 years all played with the Calgary Stampeders, Reggie Beggleton laughed, but we got to look at it here as he got tangled up with Kenneth George Jr.
Yeah, you'll see him right here. They're blocking. It's a short yardage play. As they're engaged, they're kind of getting thrown. He gets thrown at the end of it, and let's hope his leg's okay.
Got tangled up, and it was messy. David Unger, the third, is back to return for the Toronto Argonauts after a 46-yard return, and Unger refuses to step out of bounds, and now finally whistles will blow. So deciding to go with Kelvin Turner Jr. to the practice roster, and Unger comes out and will handle some return responsibilities. Nick Arbuckle in the loss against the Montreal Alouettes in week 1, 20-32. You see it there, and lots of those yards coming on the back end of the game as Toronto also has a holding call go against them that will back Arbuckle on the offense up to start. Yeah,
for Nick Arbuckle, I think the big key for him this week is understanding. You see those 2 interceptions last week. He also had a fumble that led to a touchdown. He's got to make sure he protects the football, puts their offense in better positions instead of the turnovers. And 10-16 career, we talked about it last week. He's got to put himself in a position to show he can lead his team week in and week out as a consistent starter.
It's Calgary defense being coordinated by Bob Slowick. Bit of a mystery coming into the season as Slowick hasn't been a defensive coordinator all that much the past 20 years, only in Montreal a couple years ago. They'll see the first snap here against Toronto. Arbuckle hands it off inside And the Argonauts starting offense also includes Mayan Williams, who gets the first touch of the ballgame.
Peter Nicastro gets in for an injury after Darius Sirocco injured. Hey, and the Argos only play guys from Calgary Dinos centers, you know, so they take one center out to go to the next one. David Unger, we just saw him do a return. Nick Arbuckle talks about this player, how intelligent he is, smart, understands systems, and is a guy he really relies on to be able to make plays.
Arbuckle trying to convert here on second down and medium. They'll empty out the backfield. McMahon goes to the flats, and inside it goes. DeMonte Coxie makes the grab, rolls across the 20-yard line. First down, Argonauts in the first of the football game.
The beauty of productivity, Marshall, on 1st and 10. You get 5 yards. You can wait for everybody to drop off in zone, and you can hit the underneath throws for 4 yards. Big target, Coxie just falls forward for the first down. So productivity, really good start. Let everybody clear it out. Find the soft spot. Nice throw by Nick Arbuckle. Nice read.
Micah Tights makes the tackle there. 18 games played in his first season with Calgary last year after coming over from Saskatchewan, as Arbuckle hands it off inside. That is Deontay McMahon, and turned away quickly is the Calgary starting defense, which arguably immediately is already led by the man in the middle. You see there, Lee, number 50, who got 10 tackles last week.
Josiah Coatney draws the start over Miles Brown. 11 games last season, 1 sack in defensive tackles. You just saw Markel Lee get the touch. This is the leader of defense. They were able to stop the run last week. Greg Bell was held to 1.8 yard average, and looking forward to continuing to watching Adrian Green getting opportunities to play at the field corner spot.
Markel Lee, all 6'3", 241 of him, right in the middle of that defense, as he loves the CFL width in the field. As Arbuckle has this one knocked down right at the line of scrimmage. You always say it, Lapo, can't get to the quarterback, get your paws up.
Really good pass. Really good pass rush, dent the pocket.
Rimolade having a little conversation with his ex-bench.
There we go. Pressure. Big defensive lineman as they go to dent the pocket. Throw your hand up, knock that football down. No interception like last night. It seemed like every time there was a ball going up, there was kind of crazy last night how many interceptions off of tip balls.
Haggerty sends this one away. John Haggerty out of Australia drops it down to Eric Brooks at his 35-yard line. And a 53-yard punt, so a good start for Haggerty on this one. Reggie Begelton down. We'll see what they decide to do with the receiving group substitutions and rotating some different faces in new places. Maybe even the #1 overall pick from this year's draft, Damian Elford, coming in for Vernon Adams Jr. in the Stamps pass attack. Welcome back to BMO Field as the Calgary Stampeders. Vernon Adams Jr. at the helm is his 5th team in the Canadian Football League now, and pretty good performance in the stat line. A little bit deceiving with those 2 interceptions. Dave Dickinson did tell us this week, Lapo, he thinks a little bit of it was quarterback judgment, but also just trying to keep VA clean.
And VA, it looked faster, everything they did, Marshall. You watched his ability to throw the football to the wide side of the field, spectacular. His ability to see pictures and get the ball out of his hands, and obviously his ability to run was a big thing last week in their success.
Yeah, running away from quarterback spies. We'll see if they use Wynton McManus that way for the Toronto defense. And on cue, Wynton McManus slams down Vernon. And the Argonauts defensive leader with the impact play.
Right there, you're going to see a front where every lineman is covered. What happens when that happens? People getting one-on-ones, but then the push from the outside as he walks back in and tries to make the play on the outside. A spectacular play by Wynton McManus on the play-action pass. Some of those play-action passes take a little bit of time. Wynton McManus wins, so it's hard when you get those really good athletic linebackers going against the offensive tackles.
There's a 2nd and 17 here. They'll go quarterback draw. VA makes 1 man miss, now 2, and he'll get the first down with a quarterback draw. And a run of what looks like about 20 yards on the play on 2nd and 17. Couldn't say that last year for this offense.
Speaking of athletes, what you do is you empty out the box, run everybody out of the way, then let the quarterback run it up inside. That's a great call by offense coordinator Pat Delmonico. Knowing everybody on 2nd X is going to play coverage, give VA an opportunity to run up inside. As everybody expands to go cover the receivers, there's nobody in the middle of the field for the quarterback.
And they'll go with a stretch run. Dedrick Mills turned around right there, going nowhere. As we see the Argonauts starting defense, which now features that man coming over via trade, Cam Judge.
Derek Parrish, I circled him last week. This is a player who was second in the CFL in defensive pressures. He had 6 pressures last week. Cam Judge is a pretty interesting player. Hey, Kenneth George going to get the opportunity because of some injuries, and we're going to talk about this guy, Derek Sluka from Ithaca College. Amazing story, makes the change in training camp from wide receiver to free safety and earns a starting job, Marshall.
Second and long again for the Stampeders offense. Blitz is on from Toronto as VA steps up in the pocket, and this throw in behind Dominique Rhymes, and they'll say incomplete. It touches the BMO Field turf, and so the kicking unit will have to come out for Calgary.
So interesting to see, you know, Toronto's watching film last week. There was a lot of pressure from Hamilton. On 26 plays, there was pressure last week. Here's a little bit of pressure here. One-on-ones across the board for the offensive line. Why are they doing that? Because Vernon threw 2 interceptions last week versus pressure looks. They're trying to confuse Vernon. Not confuse him, but just force him into bad decisions. Interesting to see how Kevin Ivan and Jason Shives are attacking, but they're saying, hey, we're going to pressure Vernon into some bad decisions.
Muzzin sends this one away as Dave Unger III catches it inside his own 10, and after a 46-yard punt, Unger steps out of bounds as Nick Arbuckle trying to get control of this Argonauts offense, make it feel more explosive, but also make sure that they're just staying on the field a little bit longer than they did in week 1 in that disappointing loss to the Montreal Alouettes and their outstanding defense. It's week number 2, and it's the second straight start in 2025 for Nick Arbuckle. Also the second in a row against Calgary for the Argos quarterback. But here he is in week 1, struggling, throwing interceptions in each half against Montreal. I mentioned before the break there, outstanding defense. You saw it on display last night against the Ottawa Red Blacks. But this was a tough start to the year for Toronto offensively, just 10 points.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not all on the quarterback. The pass rush at times confuse the offensive line and the running backs and put them in a bad situation, Marshall. And, you know, any quarterback, we just talked about Vernon Adams, you know, at times when there is pressure affecting him. When pressure affects you, it doesn't just affect you in making sacks. It also affects you and you can't locate the football, or you don't wait for that throw to be thrown. You take the underneath throw that's not going to get you a first down sometimes. So I think this defense in Calgary is a lot. They don't do as many different fronts and everything, so this should be an easier pictures for him. He's got to show up and locate the ball, though.
Couldn't diagnose that last snap. Incomplete, 2nd and 10 as Arbuckle rips this one to the far sideline, and one of the most consistent producers in this offense. You say, well, Devontae Coates has got the big playability, and you got the running game going, but Dave Unger III really has been a standout for them.
So when you watch teams in zone coverage sometimes have a low player and a guy goes in the deep third, and that opens up that space out there to David Unger. You're going to see Nick recognize this as the corner drops out into that space, gives him that throw on the sideline. So that's a really good read. Good recognition by Nick, understanding that the corner is bailing out to the deep third, throws it out to Ungerer. These two have a great relationship. Every week in practice, Nick talked about it 2 weeks ago. He loves working with him.
Former 11th overall pick for the Hamilton Tiger Cats, making his way in free agency here to Toronto. And they were picking on that last play on the Toronto native, Adrian Green, getting a start at field corner as this handoff goes for a gain of 1. Deontay McMahon, little ginger up onto his feet, but you see the grab by Unger.
A little bit long throw to the wide side of the field, and that's what you know, in zone coverage, Adrian Green is not going to cover all that space. He's going to cover the deep third and force the quarterback to make that long throw out to the sideline. It's a really nice throw there. Got to get better, 2nd and 9 here. Got to get in better situations on first down, though.
So former Argonauts pick Justin Sambu standing in the middle of that defense. They'll screen it out in behind and cutting back before running into a host of tacklers, including Damon Webb, the free agency addition from the Ottawa Red Blacks. It is Chop Williams picking up the first down.
Nice job on the screenplay. You got guys rushing the passer, and then you put a couple linemen out. There's our kick player. Okay, we get the kick player on the outside, Anthony Vandal, and then the running back will find that space and then get north-south off of that. good action, good first down. You want to call those into zone coverage. A lot of zone coverage early in this game from Calgary. Good call by Ryan Dimwitty.
Lots of substitutions for both of these clubs trying to match personnel. A lot of offensive linemen dressed for both teams in this game as well. We'll see some big sets throughout the remainder of the afternoon. This one ended up right in between the tackles and doing his best Dietrich Mills impersonation from week 1. It's Mayan Williams once again out of Cincinnati, Ohio.
Mayan Williams, such a low center of gravity as a runner. You're going to see him hit it right here as the offensive line does a zone play to the left. With the pressure inside, great block by the center, Peter Nicastro, as they blitz the Sam linebacker in the middle, the strong side linebacker, but great pickup to get Williams open in space and go ahead and what I call cut the weak arm on the free safety, break across his face. This is a strong lower-bodied running back, talent.
Arbuckle turns around, hands it off, and again Williams drives the legs one-on-one with Markel Lee and able to turn him sideways. As the Ohio State product, Mayan Williams, man, he's got so much power. We saw him in the preseason, loved his game, and obviously they did too as they released Kadeem Carey.
I've been in this league, Marshall, for a long time, and when we always bring up players and we say, hey, we got a running back here. I'll tell you, Marshall, when you bring a player into your building that comes from the Big Ten as a running back, it's a different looking body. Yeah. Look at this kid, Mayan Williams, low center of gravity, strong, physical. Those are the type of backs that are going to break tackles and get yak yards.
One of our favorite games, guys naming dudes. We were just trying to name Big Ten running backs before the game got going here. Big shoulder pads, big bodies, big runs, and a big gain here. Once again for Dave Ungerer III, another first down. And this will be the second snap offensively for the Argonauts in plus territory already in this game. They only had 2 in the entire second half, week 1 at Montreal.
Again, this is what you talk about. Pre-snap alignment and recognizing what happens. David Ungerer is going to be in the zone area of the field as they blitz. They're going to back people up. Nick recognizes immediately, saw the pressure coming. He goes, I know I got a 6-yard throw with a soft corner outside. I'm going to just throw that ball and create a first down.
Ungerer, 2 catches, 26 yards now as Arbuckle goes back to work, hangs it to the outside. They are picking a little bit on the Toronto native Adrian Green as Ungerer gets another touch.
I feel good at the beginning of the day when I pointed him out and said, Nick's got to get some catches to him. I guess Nick's wired into our broadcast here, Marshall, today.
Straight to the headset, right?
Straight to the... Again, a little bit of pressure, a zone blitz. You can see what's called 3-step protection where the offensive lineman, they're just going to cut the defensive lineman. They're going to block down, keep hands down so the ball can be out and not tipped. Good throw on the outside once again. Watch for Calgary to start putting people closer to the line of scrimmage on David Ungerer. 2nd
and 5 as flags fly here. And Arbuckle, the 2024 Grey Cup MVP, will roll the football back to the original line of scrimmage. As for the first time, we hear from our referee, Tom Valesi, on the call.
Offside, Toronto number 80. 5-yard penalty, remains 2nd down.
Tavares Daniels, the veteran, has the call go against him. It will back up Toronto a couple of yards here and go back to work with the 2023 CFL MOP. Chad Kelly still down as Reggie Beggleton, speaking of injuries and specifically leg injuries, ice on that knee and not putting any weight on it right now. Hate to see that.
Yeah, unfortunate. Hopefully he can get looked at, get him back as soon as we can.
Jalen Philpott over there talking things over with his veteran leader, Reggie Beggleton, as Arbuckle goes to work on 2nd and 10. Check down underneath and trying to get to the edge. It'll be a gain of 7 on the play. As that's Kevin Mittal, the Laval Rouge et Or star.
Not forcing anything as Calgary's going to drop out into a zone. They're going to give up this area of the field. They'll say, hey, this is an underneath spot. I like Nick Arbuckle gets it out of his hand quickly, Marshall, because they are in field goal range. You don't want to take a sack there to push you out of field goal range. Don't get the first down. Make the field goal a little bit easier.
St. Catharines, Ontario, Liram Hiralahu. Big season last year for the Double Blue. And in the home opener, he misses this one wide to the right. Headed towards the lake, and the drifting wind will keep it to just a single instead of a triple right now for the Toronto Argonauts. So a promising drive for Toronto. Falters with a penalty. And then Calgary gets off the field, only allowing 1 point on the board. Vernon Adams Jr. and the Calgary offense when we return. Early on in this football game, Reggie Begelton goes down due to injury. It looked nasty right off the hop. Matthew Shinetti has more.
Yeah, these are always the tough ones, Marshall. Reggie Begelton, as you can see, with that ice on his right knee and not putting any weight on it with crutches, obviously is out because his pads are off. It took a lot of time in that training tent after he went in, and you could see a steady stream of Stampeders after he came out, led by Vernon Adams Jr. coming out and just kind of offering their condolences to what is always a very tough situation. And to add on to that, on the Argos sidelines in their training tent is Deontay McMahon, who has the boot off of his right leg, and he is not moving from the training table right now, Marshall.
And challenges for both offenses right now. Thank you, Matthew. As Reggie Begelton, say, one of the real true veterans and leaders of this group.
Yeah, it's not only you lose a great football player, but you lose a commanding presence in the locker room.
VA pumps the screen short. Now looks over the top. Dominique Grimes, and they scheme him open for the man that they just couldn't get open last week, and the ball pops out and into the hands of Clark Barnes. Will they say he was down or live football? As the officials will talk it over, but good to see Dom Rhymes get a 57th straight game with a catch.
So you're going to get a little bit of a double. You're going to fake a screen pass to people out here, and you're going to have one player go deep and one player go here. This is a vertical stretch. You got 1, 2, 3 different guys you can throw to. When you watch this happen, there's the fake to the screen. You keep one player low. There's the throw with the player down the sideline. So great execution by Dave Dickinson and company, setting up, hey, come up on that screen pass. We're going to throw downfield.
Down by contact, they'll say, for Dominique Grimes. So a gain of 35 yards on the play. 1st and 10. Calgary sees pressure once again. VA pumps to try and get away from Cam Judge, and now he's hit from behind. Somehow held on to it. But once again, Andrew Chatfield Jr. ending the play for Calgary's offense.
Chatfield Jr. came over from Ottawa this offseason, was traded for Oregon State player. You know, now watch, it starts with Cam Judge coming off the edge, and Vernon does his job. He makes the free player miss. Either you got to throw the football or you make the free player miss. He makes a miss. Now he's got to throw the football because he doesn't know what's behind him. Chatfield, with the effort of chasing, and comes behind. Nice play by the second-year player, first-year player at Oregon State.
Now taking a shot over the top and almost back-shouldered there in coverage. It was Jalen Philpott. Looked like Mark Milton was the one who got out underneath it. VA wants that throw back.
Yeah, a little bit underthrown there, but good adjustment by Milton to make that play on the outside. And good recovery by the defense of the Argos after the huge explosive play. They get a sack and stop the play.
Well, Calgary dialing it up right now, trying to get their receivers open after losing Reggie Begelton. It looks like for the night at the very least, as VA trying to get it up to Jalen Philpott, but Milton all over it. An exciting first quarter here. BMO Field in the Argos home opener. Only 1 point on the board somehow in a fun back and forth first quarter of action between these two teams on an afternoon where the Toronto Argonauts celebrate banner number 19, and they happen to get these really shiny things. If I just go ahead and open up with
Beautiful rings for the Argos.
They are 10,000 fans got an opportunity to go home with one of these today. Shiny, beautiful, and the real ones, the top actually comes off and becomes a pendant that you can wear on your chain if you want. Take it outside the bike. He's got all the rings.
Got some bucks right there on that helmet.
Two of the last 3 breakups going to the Toronto Argonauts, of course. And
that's great.
These replica rings making lots of young fans very, very happy. A symbol of success and championship glory that the Argonauts were able to go on last year with that 3-game sprint through the CFL playoffs as Ryan Dinwiddie captures a Grey Cup. For the double blue, trying to add points on here. The first play of the second quarter, Rene Paredes hangs this one up in the wind in the same direction the Haralau missed. Rene Paredes also misses. Some of the very best kickers in the Canadian Football League struggling heading towards Lake Ontario this afternoon.
And just shows how important it is, you know, at the end of a quarter, having the opportunity to get that one last kick before the quarter changes, because now Calgary had to kick that into the wind. And obviously both kickers struggling going in this direction as they go into the wind.
It's a 47-yard miss that time from Randy Paredes. As you see Hairolahu going, no, it's not just me. Okay.
You know, and you see Ungerer back there. Let's talk about this stat. Last week in Canadian Football League, 37% of CFL offenses, CFL offensive yardage came from Canadian football players. And we talk about tonight Clark Barnes, David Ungerer, and you look at David Ungerer right now, he's got 31 of those yards of Nick Arbuckle's yardage so far already.
As Arbuckle fakes her on this time, flips it out complete, and running free through the secondary. Finally brought down by Micah Tights, who cracks up another tackle, but Tavares Daniels trying to atone for his offside penalty from the end of the last drive.
Yeah, you basically what you call a zone read play where everybody's blocking in this direction, and this is the read for the quarterback. If that player pushes down, I can pull it and get out on the perimeter. You're going to see that happen. He pulls it, tries to find. You're going to layer in multiple amount of receivers that he can get the ball to quickly. Good read by the quarterback, reading the defensive end, bending inside.
Quick handoff this time inside with Deontay McMahon still on the sidelines. It'll go for a gain of 3. Toronto, 4-game winning streak from 2021 to 2024 right now when it comes to home openers. They look to make it 5 today for the first time since 1940, and certainly gains on first down with the running game key to that.
Well, when we talked to Marquel Lee, he talked about, hey, we got to make this team one-dimensional. That's our #1 goal. What was the thing Bob Stolick brought in? He said, we are going to stop the run. That's our #1 priority. We'll make sure we do that. We're going to keep our defense simple so we can run to the football. Last week, like I said, 1.8 yards for the tailback per rush last week. So good start for them tonight this week, making some stops.
Tried to get Williams sneaking about to the flats, but Damon Webb was all over it that time. Read it. Was originally looking like he was headed towards the quarterback and peeled off. Makes the tackle in the open field. The all-CFL player from 2024 makes the play.
Yeah, Damon Webb, another Ohio State product, was spectacular. I had my fortune enough to play with, coach with him in Ottawa, and I just thought he was an impressive athlete. Could do a lot of things. The ball goes out to the flat like this. It's very difficult if you haven't outflanked the defense. Webb's right there to make the stop for a short gain.
Look how many red and white uniforms were there as well, though. Like just flowing to the football. This Calgary defense flying around through the first 5 quarters of 2025 as a wobbling punt from Haggerty drops down, picked up by Aaron Brooks, makes a man miss in the open field, and makes his way all the way out to the 47-yard line after a 44-yard punt. As Vernon Adams Jr. and the Calgary offense scoreless through the first quarter, trying to find a way to get on the board here early on in week number 2 at BMO Field. At a Waterloo, New York, the Finger Lakes region. How about Derek Sluka making his way into the Canadian Football League? The Toronto Argonauts said that he actually saw an Argos Instagram post when he was making his way out of high school, and it says, well, full circle, I ended up getting an opportunity with the team, an interception in his first game on the team, playing free safety, but he has been on both sides of the football. We'll get to that in just a second as Vernon Adams Jr. takes the snap here from his own end and is driven into the turf. Once again, the pass rush delivers for the Toronto Argonauts. Huge overhaul and bodies up here after a bunch of their players got paid to go without their places. But DeMarcus Christmas finishes it off.
And once again, you can see the game plan here. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 people at the line of scrimmage. So what are they trying to do? They're trying to put all the offensive linemen in one-on-one situations, and they're winning that battle, obviously, when that DeMarcus Christmas gets the pass rush over right guard Chris Nakanu. So really good pass rush, trying to force the one-on-ones for the Calgary Stampeders O-line.
Well, Whit McManus is fired up here today on Banner Afternoon in Toronto. He almost got home as well as now they'll take a shot deep outside, 6'6", and it drops into the waiting arms of the top overall pick in the 2025 CFL draft, Damian Alford. That's why they brought him in, the catch radius and being able to high point the football, Lapo.
2 things you want to look at. 1, 2, safeties. Everybody else in man coverage. What does that tell you? It's 2 deep man coverage. What do? You take the one-on-one matchup on the outside. Damian Alford, what do they get? A 6'6" receiver who can go up and get it. Vernon Adams, you used to see him throw to Justin McInnes, big targets. You want to throw to a big guy who can adjust to the ball. That was a spectacular play by Alfred.
It's not the last time we'll see VA take a shot up top for Alfred in this football game. As this time, Wynton McManus sideline to sideline stacks up. Dedrick Mills throws him back, and it looks like it'll go for a minimal gain, maybe even half a yard loss.
Well, I think this thing gets started by Cameron Judge, by Cameron chasing, coming across the field and forcing this ball back to his help. As he does that, that puts basically a position. Watch Cameron Judge all the way out here, starts making the contact, and just runs to the football. You know, sometimes when you're running those outside zone plays, you're putting all the offensive linemen running to a direction, but you go in, you got fast linebackers, Marshall. It's hard. Really good job by Cameron Judge playing that play in space.
And Reggie Beggleton obviously injured in the first quarter. Now you have the center Bryce Bell, who was a game-time decision with a shoulder injury, and gingerly holding that left arm as well. So some alterations going to be made on the offensive line here on 2nd down and 11, as that is Chris Fortin, the first-round pick this year. They just had a completion of the first overall pick. They had another pick in the first round, 8th overall, and it's that man who's about to snap it back to Vernon Adams Jr.
Yeah, Chris Fortin was a very impressive football player. I thought he fit this league very well. His ability to run block is his strength. He's got to learn. We'll see how he is as a pass blocker. Good opportunity for the young player.
Adams Jr. bounces around the pocket and throws it up. And nobody in red and white. Clark Barnes, the nearest receiver. Tavares McFadden very nearly had another interception.
And you can see Kevin Iben and Jason Shivers, co-defensive coordinators here, kind of rolling through what I would call a Rolodex of coverages here. You know, they had some man coverage with safety help. They had some pressure, just man coverage. Here's a zone picture, trying to take the quarterback and, hey, let's confuse him at times. Don't give him the same picture. We have a veteran quarterback. Let's make sure he sees different pictures. You see Shivers right there. Been into this league a long time. Interesting having a conversation with Kevin Iben about that. He's like, well, actually, I played with Shivers, so we've known each other so long. It's easy, the relationship between the two of us.
Vernon Paredes missing earlier on. And this time makes good. Knocks it through from 46 yards away. And so the ageless one, El Matador, gets Calgary onto the score sheet. A 3-1 lead for the Stampeders over the Argonauts. CFL week number 2 matchup between the Argonauts and the Stampeders. Bit of a slow burn on the score sheet, but up and down the field they go. Rene Paredes knocks through the field goal, good from 46 yards away. So Nick Arbuckle and the Argonauts offense trying to respond. They'll flip it underneath to Kevin Mattal. As he gets the edge, Markel Lee giving chase, and finally 50 will track down 10 and push him out of bounds, but a solid gain on the little pop pass jet sweep.
Yeah, jet sweep. What you try to do with Kevin Mattal, he's really good with the ball in his hand. So you put him on one side of the field, and then you bring him across, and the line goes in one direction, and you flip it to a slot going the other direction, and you try to outflank the defense. It's a conflict of assignment. The line goes to the left, but the ball goes to the right. So when Kevin Mattal's a good athlete, get the ball in his hands. Really good young player from Laval.
Good execution and a nice block on the edge by Tavares Daniels. They go back to Mattal here on 2nd and 4. And they chop his legs out as a rallying and young defensive secondary for the Calgary Stampeders making plays on the outside. Derek Moncrief there involved as well, as 3rd down and 2 to go, and they'll send out Haggerty in the punting unit. Yeah,
what you do is Mattal starts to go into the left, and then he jumps outside, but really good tackling and chasing on the outside. Sheldon Arnold is able to go make the stop behind lines, just a yard short to prevent the short yardage quarterback sneak. So really good stop by the Calgary defense after a pretty good gain on 1st and 10.
Arnold out of Loganville, Georgia makes the play, and so they'll boot it down to Eric Brooks at his own 20-yard line, and a return of 6 yards on the play. Flag is down as well. Purelator tackle hunger is coming up across the Canadian Football League this season. For over 20 years, along with the CFL and its member clubs, the Purolator Tackle Hunger program has delivered over 25 million pounds of food to families in need. You can go to purolatortacklehunger.ca to donate, as you see the dates and the locations there as well. But we will be in Hamilton on Labor Day coming up at the back end of those 5 dates. But great to see Purolator Tackle Hunger back, and of course being here in Toronto, thinking about Chris Schultz and all of the impact that that program has been able to make across the country for so long.
Yeah, you think about that program, you think about Schultz.
No doubt.
Illegal interference, Toronto number 20. 10-yard penalty, first down Calgary.
Bob Alessi, our referee, on the call. And that backs up the Stampeders, so a long field here to go for Vernon Adams Jr. And again, Wynton McManus and Cam Judge. Almost feels unfair they're side by side, but the guy directing the traffic at the back end is Derek Sluka, who, as we said,
yeah, that's a good point. You said Derek Sluka talked about he was a quarterback in high school, and one of the things he loves about the free safety is kind of like the quarterback of the secondary. He will align players. He'll take, sometimes you change your coverage based on the formations. He's the one who makes all those checks, and he really enjoys that part of the game.
I loved asking Sluka, have you been coming downhill in the run game at any point, and then Wynton just takes care of it? He goes, yeah, a couple. he does some crazy stuff in front of me. Same with Cam Judge right there as they'll hand it off. Chatfield can't make the tackle. Able to make the play as Cam Judge flowing in from the backside that time, as Sluka is a guy who started out playing receiver. How about a little look at two-way players? Look at that. Around the CFL. How about Larry Highball, legendary Edmonton, Jerry Keeling in Calgary.
Jackie Parker.
The icon out there in Edmonton.
Penny Plain, Winnipeg Blue Bomber.
Who's number 26 is going to be retired by the Hamilton Tiger Cats, coming up on the back end of this QEW doubleheader. The Tiger Cats take on the Rough Riders right here on TSN. Following the completion of this one on second down and long, a quick crosser throw is complete, but nowhere near the first yardage needed. And there's another Stampeder down in behind the play who was blocking, and the training staff will come out. I think this is Damien Alford that's down on the turf now. And they really don't have the depth at receiver to have any more injuries in this game.
Yeah, Eric Brooks would be the returner, I guess. Would be somebody who would have to help field. We'll take a look at Alfred up here, top of the screen. Just a contact injury.
Banging knees, it looked like, and Alfred's
okay.
Yeah, walking off under his own power, which is great to see. But
we hope Reggie Bagleton's good. Now, the Argonauts had the same thing in preseason. A preseason game you and I were doing. Brian Cox got injured just in the warm-up on a non-contact thing. Unfortunately, out for the season. Let's just hope these guys continue. It's good to see Alfred walking off.
Yeah, Dave Dickinson voicing his displeasure. He thought that there was a hit away from the play. No flag down, and so Calgary will have to send this one away halfway through this second quarter. The Stampeders look to move to 2-0 after the 38-26 victory against Hamilton. At that point, their largest lead was 24 against the Tiger Cats, but low-scoring affair thus far in this one is Dave Unger, the third. After a 49-yard punt, gets chopped down. Micah Tights making his impact felt on special teams as Folarin Orimolade back here at BMO Field, walking around field before the game, getting a sense for his old stomping grounds. More on Flo when we return to Toronto. A long time coming, but you know we wanted this one. This is Tavares Daniels handing over the ring that we showed. Oh, look at that shine coming off that ring, giving it to Folarin Orimolade with more Matthew Shinetti.
He had a bit of trouble. If you can see that Argos ring, Marshall, you have to twist the top off. I was watching Flo try to work to put it back on. It's a huge accomplishment. The one thing that Ryan Dinwiddie has often said about Folarin Orimolade is that he leads by example. One of the first guys on the field, one of the last guys. Dinwiddie often said that he would yell at Flo to get back on the bus because he was working so hard. Another guy who worked plenty hard alongside Flo was Ryan Hunter. He said he often used to trade notes with Flo about pre-snap checks, and they're going against each other right now in the game, and it was Ryan Hunter on the field early looking for Flo, perhaps maybe not to exchange some notes knowing they're going to be attacking each other today, but it was Flo, obviously, as you guys said, really focused on getting that ring. He had a big smile on his face for that big bling, guys.
Yeah, no doubt fired up, a huge accomplishment, but also I just love the idea of both Ryan and Flo going into this game being like, maybe I shouldn't have spent so much time talking to him after practice. Seems like a bad idea now. He knows everything I do. See whether or not Urmalati can get home. Just one tackle last week in his re-debut in Stampeders red and white. He influenced the game certainly, but no sacks either for that rebuilt defensive line for Calgary last week against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. As Arbuckle throws this one up, intercepted. Adrian Green, house call. Touchdown Stamps.
We were talking about this throw, that there's opportunities to take it to the wide side of the field. The ball has to come out quickly, and sometimes you have to make sure. You'll see it right here. Watch Green. He's just going to bait and take this ball away from Ungerer. Ungerer is on a comeback to the sideline, and it's just sometimes in the air too long, those wide side throws. Green's right there for the interception. Great play, but great drive on the football by Green there, recognizing that, hey, I'm going to get this one this time. The first couple have been 6-yard throws. This 12-yard route, that's too deep. Ball's going to be in the air too long. I'm going to take it away.
And a high snap now because Aaron Crawford, the long snapper, isn't in the game. And running pair it is. Well, Garo Upremian that time rolling to his right, trying to throw it away.
So this is going to be interesting. The Calgary Stampeders got some decisions to make. Are we going to try extra points, or are we just going to start going for two if they cannot snap the ball with their short snapper? You can see it was a high snap there.
They had Anthony Federico in as the emergency long snapper, but high it came out as Muzzin unable to hold on to it. And then, yeah, you get a little throwback to the old Dolphins Super Bowl, just trying to sling this thing and get rid of it. I think if Rene had this one back, you might just want to get rid of it.
Well, you're going to see that when we were watching upstairs, say, who's going to do the snaps? We saw Anthony Federico. Is there emergency long snapper? So you're going to see in situations that Dave Dickinson may be on a 3rd and 2 or 3rd and 3, Marshall. He may just go for it instead of trying to snap it without a long snapper. So this will be interesting to see how the Calgary Stampeders handle all that, whether it's an extra point, whether it's third and 5. I'm not saying on 3rd and 10, but you might be on 3rd and mediums. You're going to go for it.
And this is the interesting part as well, right, is that your 2-point package, obviously you don't want to use up the whole thing, or, your short yardage package, or 3rd and 2, 3rd and 3, but they might be in a situation now where they have no choice but to just kind of empty.
Yeah. And Marshall, what I love about plays, you can always put new ones in next week, Marshall.
But how many are on the band is what I'm saying, right? Because you don't anticipate losing Aaron Crawford.
Oh, we got plenty of plays. You know how long those sheets are? We got plenty of plays.
Yeah, I've seen you guys in your playbooks that are 500 pages deep. You got enough stuff there. Paredes boots this one away. No snap needed on the kickoff. And Jake Herslow returns across his 30. And makes the emergency long snapper Anthony Federico miss. Across the 35, out towards the 40 goes Herslow as we take a look back at the touchdown here.
One of the first things you talk to young quarterbacks when they come to Canadian Football League, you educate them how long the throw is to the wide side of the field, and you have to know that there's nobody in that part of the field. Great jump by Adrian Green, great recognition, and again, sometimes that ball's in the air a long time. I love how he looks it into his hands and then just takes off for the score. So spectacular play by the Calgary Stampeders. Adrian Green, 4th-year player from SMU.
Arbuckle gets a look at it on the sidelines. When you try,
and that's St. Mary's University.
Yes,
Southern Methodist University.
When you triangulate that throw, it's long already. Then you have to throw it over Derek Moncrief, and the throw gets even longer as pushing his way towards the sideline. Mayan Williams continues to rack up the yardage here on the afternoon. Nice smart check down underneath and a first down for the Argonauts.
And Mayan Williams just kind of took the linebacker Roberts and just kind of knocked him down as he caught this ball out in the flat. Nick looking downfield, sees everybody lifting with the coverage. Go to your check down. opens his hips, makes that throw, and say, watch Mayan Williams right here. Boom! He's just dropping guys.
Tough to tackle.
Yes, low center of gravity. I said this last week. He reminds me, for the Argonauts fans watching, Michael Jenkins when I first came into the league, little running back from Arkansas, very similar body type.
6 options here for Arbuckle. Goes underneath once again. Kevin Mittal makes the grab for a gain of 5 on first down.
So good throw by Nick and good understanding. Nick Arbuckle has a really good understanding of offensive systems, what he needs to do. He's got to make sure, though, you can see here there's a big area of the zone that's wide open. And there's nobody there. As people expand to the outside zone, he takes the throw on the inside. But what Nick's got to eliminate is the critical errors. Last week there was a fumble that led to a touchdown. We've got a pick 6 here. That's the areas he has to improve to lead his teams to wins.
Feels even more important is the low-scoring nature of the first half of this one. Is a big collision there just across the 50-yard line. Offensive line rushing out to go and pick up Demonte Coxie, who comes up short of the first down marker, but looks like the offense not questioning it, plus territory. They'll stay on the field.
Yeah, trying to get a little, if you want to call pick play or rub play. This player is going to go up and then this direction, and Coxie's going to be in his wake. And he's underneath as every player lifts with the corner route. Will throw the underneath throw to get the first down. Good read.
Gave him forward progress as well. So first down, Toronto. As whistles come in, and yeah, challenge flag is out here from Dave Dickinson.
Yeah, it was a good spot. This was, so Dave's maybe spotting the challenge and where the spot is. So who will look at it now?
It will be the CFL
Replay Center. Not the Command Center. No longer the Command Center is now the CFL Replay Center.
There's Al Bradbury, the replay official in the CFL Replay Center for this afternoon's affair. And Dave Dickinson active on the sidelines as ever.
Calgary received extra information, has chosen to pick up their challenge flag. There'll be no challenge.
And Al Bradbury will not.
Really good. That extra information stuff's really cool.
Well, that's also one of those situations, though, where the replay center can basically communicate to the officials and say, no, like the spot's not going to change. We've already taken a look at it.
There's about, you know, the league has done a really good job. There's about 5 plays per game weekly that the replay center will look into and try to help the officials, whether it be a spot or who moved first on a penalty.
And they're looking at everything and reviewing it quickly. It's Arbuckle brought down, shooting through. It is Falarna Rimolade, and he'll sign the artwork. The Dartmouth grad makes his impact in his return to Toronto on ring night.
Little bit deeper play this time for Nick Arbuckle, so the longer this ball's there, more opportunities. Hardest part for a tackle. George Moore cannot give up the inside. That's the shortest distance, but the problem is Flo's speed. He's going to think about, I got to set back. I got to set back. So Flo, I can handle him. Then what's Flo do? Starts to go, spins right back inside.
Great move from Falarna Rimolade. Takes us to the 3-minute warning here in Toronto. As Rimolade and the defensive lines coming alive. Defense is making plays all over the place. Just 10 points on the board as we stand with 3 minutes to go in the first half.
Oh, yeah.
Marshall, you mentioned it. The D-line's putting on a show in this game. We'll chat that. And, of course, struggling Nick Arbuckle. And Enoch would like to debut a new segment called You Want Us to Say Your Name?
Make the play.
Make a play.
Make the plays. Don't drop the balls. Come on.
It's a great rule. It's a fantastic rule.
Make the play.
You want to hear your name called?
MTP, baby.
Make the play. Nick Arbuckle, say his name, steps up, takes a look downfield, lobs this one up, jump ball, and it's popped out. Coming over in coverage, Demonte Coxie had it, but Arnold jarred it loose.
You know, you want to throw it up to big receivers on the sideline, but defensively, when you're in some zone structures, you want your halfback to be a guy who's big and can run. Watch out, Arnold, come over here and make this play. You want speed at that spot. Why? So you can do that. Arnold comes in right as the ball's about to be caught, knocks it out. Really good play by the first-year player from Central Florida.
Deepest target so far from Arbuckle. It goes incomplete thanks to Arnold. Now a 46-yard punt. Comes down from Haggerty, and Brooks will return it out towards the 20-yard line. It's the Calgary Stampeders trying to get back into the playoffs after missing for the first time since 2004. 2 decades of dominance, and they hope Vernon Adams Jr. will be the man that will lead them that direction.
The one thing you really hear, every player, every coach I've talked to, talk about Vernon Adams' leadership. We all understand he's a great football player, but they talk about the energy in the building of VA. We had a talk with Diedrich Mills this week, and he just talked about VA every day, whether it's meetings on the field. He brings an energy that is infectious to our entire team and our entire organization. That's what you want from your leader.
I said last week against Hamilton, an organization that needed a little bit of a jolt of electricity. There's no more electric quarterback in the CFL when he's on than Vernon Adams Jr. as he pumps it now, takes a short throw underneath. Jalen Philpott runs through coverage. It's like the defender wasn't even there.
Use his legs, get out on the perimeter, and then see what's happening from a route concept. They had a deep route, they had an underneath route, and then they had Jalen Philpott underneath. He can't find it, flips it outside. Watch Jalen Philpott lower the shoulders, get underneath. Great play. Look at him get low, deliver the blow, beat a hammer, not the nail, right, Marcia? As you always hear people talk about.
And right through Darius Brett, got a little piece of Mark Milton afterwards, as well as this one off the mark. Looking for Tevin Jones, working in that slot position, wide receiver. Last year with Edmonton, 51 catches, over 700 yards, and 4 catches in his Stamps debut last week.
Part of this run game, when you start getting this run game going as well as they were last week, you're going to start giving Vernon options to throw it outside to Tevin Jones. If you like the picture over there, you have 4 receivers to the field, just 1 to the left. Hey, I'm going to take this matchup when I get it. They just miss that throw a little bit.
Critical snap here at the end of the first half, just trying to make sure Toronto doesn't have an opportunity to gain some field position and score before the end of the half. Pressure's on, and the ball rolls out VA's hand. And Diedrich Mills is right there on the spot. Haven't said his name all that much positively on the offensive production side, but again, a critical save right there for what could have been a live ball.
Once again, you have multiple linebackers right here, but there's 5 people at the line of scrimmage. They're going to do some twisting. Let's go ahead and play it. And once again, you're trying to create confusion for offensive lines. You can see basically players coming. DeMarcus Christmas comes inside. Parrish is coming inside. Darkangelo's in the game. He gets a piece of that ball to get it through. There's a lot of twisting and shouting from this defensive line, trying to put themselves in a position to affect the O-line.
And somehow Aaron Crawford, the long snapper, is back in the game. I wonder if he's either going to cover this kick or if he's just in to snap, as he snaps it and protects, and he's hobbling on that knee, and he won't go down the field. So after the bad snap from Anthony Federico, they've asked Aaron Crawford to come in and essentially just deliver the football to the rest of the special teams unit. But what a gutsy effort here from Aaron Crawford. Gets a little fist bump from his kicker, Rennie Paredes.
Yeah, really good. They're just going to say, all we need you to do is snap the rest of the game. So we have a short snapper and a long snapper so we can execute punts.
Yeah, that is not an easy thing to accomplish for Aaron Crawford at a St. Mary's 5th year in Calgary after working with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Originally drafted 40th overall back in 2012 by these Argonauts. Plenty of Labor Day Classic battles against the Double Blue, but here he is with Calgary fighting through an obvious injury as Nick Arbuckle, with 1:26 remaining in this first half, steps up, lobs this one open for grabs, and it's Adrian Green. He's got 2.
Adrian Green in the right place, right time. When you're playing zone coverage, you got a lot of guys watching the quarterback's eyes. And Nick's he climbed the pocket, he had plenty of time. He's trying to hit a wheel route. One of these receivers is going to wheel up the sideline, but the underneath coverage does a great job of running with the wheel route right here, Moncrief, and then gets a piece of it. Green's right there to make the interception. So really good instincts. Derek Moncrief making a play on the ball, giving it to Adrian Green. This Calgary defense is flying around making plays.
Ben LeBras, the 4th overall pick from 2024, was listed as the starter, and Green played most of the game. We found out just before kickoff that Green was going to be playing at that field corner spot. Well, on the depth chart this week, they just owned it. They said Green's the guy. And man, are they ever being rewarded for that decision right now. And off inside, Parrish trying to drag the hips of Dedrick Mills backwards with a minute remaining in the first half.
Yeah, quick second and short. Now you're going to see the team. Calgary's going to line up on the line of scrimmage. They're going to try to go with 1:09 left. They're going to try to go no huddle at the line of scrimmage, try to make their plays. Second and short, quick run play. Now everybody trying to go as fast as they can to conserve time on offense.
Eric Brooks, the returner, is in as a receiver here as Jalen Philpott gets a touch at the 50, cuts it back, and somehow adds 12 yards after the catch on what looked like a nothing play. But Calgary's offense moving and in rhythm here.
Yeah, really good. Everybody spreads out playing zone. Vernon sees it, gets it to Philpott real quick as they continue to head down the field with no huddle.
Damien Alford out, Reggie Beggleton out. Doesn't make a difference right now for Vernon Adams Jr. finding anybody he can, including over the middle. This one was tapped. And it looks like Jack Cassaro to Carlton got just enough to keep it away from Jalen Philpott.
Yeah, Cassar, if this wasn't, if Cassar didn't get a piece of this ball, this is going to go for good yardage, right? It's a three-man rush. There's a lot of people in coverage, and Vernon found a spot, but Cassar's right there. When you have those extra linebackers, he just impeded the ball, or else that was going to be a big play. Great job by the Carlton football player, Jack Cassar.
6'4", 240, big body, long reach, and needed every single millimeter possible to get his hand on that football. Vernon Adams Jr., second and 10, looks into traffic, could have been intercepted. Nearly was, is that, yeah?
Derek Sluka.
Sluka came downhill and almost started his CFL defensive career with back-to-back weeks with interceptions as VA angry at himself on that one.
He loses sight of him as he starts to scramble. VA's going to start to scramble. He sees he has a throw to the inside, but Sluka is out of his line of vision. He undercuts the play, just doesn't finish. So the former wide receiver turned free safety is not real happy with himself.
Well,
He's like, I am a receiver,
star.
right? And basketball star, yes.
Like multi-sport guy decided to go to school for basketball financial decision, then converted back. He's got a brother that's playing college ball right now as well. As this one hangs in the wind and Paredes misses once again. And then Calgary special teams down the field. Anthony Federico, the first to make contact with Jake Herslow.
Fraser Mason, I'm going to give the holder a little credit because that snap was off a little bit. He did a great job catching that. That's all I'm watching right now, to see all these snaps and how they play. But whatever happened made it tough for Rene Paredes.
As Beggleton proactively heading back to the locker room, and don't often see this from Rene Paredes, a shake of the head on a frustrating afternoon. It's not like he's never kicked here before. He understands the challenges of slight breeze coming out. The crazy thing about BMO, though, is the flags at the top of the uprights not moving whatsoever. The championship banners that they're celebrating their 19th year hanging in the end zone, well, they're waving all over the place.
But the one point of Rene Paredes is just one little thing changes. Sometimes those kickers, it just gets in their head, like how the ball's being snapped, how it's being pulled back down to hold.
Arbuckle checks it down underneath. Nice move in the open field, and Mike Williams will have a first down for Toronto as they try to muster something here in the final minute of the first half.
You know, Toronto's got to be smart here. Last week, they had more time than this, but last week is where they did have the turnover here late in the half, and where, gave up the fumble return for a touchdown. So they got to be careful here.
Arbuckle again going over the top where he just threw the interception to Adrian Grimm. That one hung up in the air as well as Coxie couldn't bring it down.
So now you have, if you talk situational football with 13 seconds left here, Marshall, you basically want to probably run the football here and just kind of get out of this.
Trust your special teams?
Yeah, you just get out of this half now. You don't want to leave any time. You don't want to have to punt the football.
Well, instead of being conservative, Ryan Dinwiddie's saying, I think we just got a chunk play on a missed defensive pass interference.
Yep. Take a look, see what happens.
For pass interference. We'll review the play.
The CFL Replay Center takes a look at that one.
The Replay Center, checking it out. Up at the top of your screen. Right here, heading down, you're going to have a player here. You're going to have two players in that space. And Nick's trying to throw it between them. Really good job by the halfback coming across. Sheldon Arnold, we just talked about, does a really good job of understanding the ball's going to go on the outside. He runs over the top, puts himself in a position. Right there, they're going to look. They're going to see whether that's a little bit of a tug.
Really didn't need it from Arnold either. He was there with plenty of time.
It's the hardest thing trying to teach those guys. Just keep your hands down. You don't need to do anything. You're right there. You're right in position. There's a good picture of it.
Oh, yeah.
That
great shot.
Impedes or redirects them, so this will be interesting to see.
It should be defensive pass interference. The official definition, materially affect the ability to play the football in the air. I would say dragging him through the air.
Grabbing onto his hand as he's trying to catch the football.
I'm just a play-by-play guy, but that looks like defensive pass interference to me from up here in the booth.
And that's a good, it's a good play. It'll flip the football field if they get him, put him at least in field goal range.
After review by the command center, we have pass interference, Calgary number 38. Ball replaced at the spot of the foul, automatic first down.
Big chunk play, doesn't even have to be a completion. You know Ryan did when he fired up with that one. Already back into the call sheet and knows what he wants to dial in here now that they are in Calgary territory.
Yeah, and certainly clear and obvious is the mandate for pass interference. They're not going to play this slow motion or anything. They're going to watch it live and see if there's clear and obvious pass interference. They believe there's clear and obvious pass interference. Now, real important, get yourself a little bit closer to field goal range.
We're getting ready to send out the punting unit. Instead they get a 44-yard gain through the flag as Kevin Mattel on the crossing route. And now they will run out. Looks like the field goal unit. Hairolahu off the sideline. With 6 seconds remaining in this first half, and Liram 0 for 1 in this ball game.
Yeah, and it's so important to get that last completion because you're there. When you don't get that, so right now this is a nice, easy 45-yard field goal compared to something 52, 53. Once you get over that 50 number, so that's a great completion to ensure this higher opportunity to kick.
Hairolahu going the opposite direction from where he missed earlier, and he makes good on this one. So no majors in the first half for either club offensively. Toronto will get their decision to start the second half, but it's the defensive pass interference call at the end that gives 3 points to Toronto. And Adrian Green, the Toronto native, coming home after moving over to Calgary from BC in free agency, and he has the only touchdown so far in a slug match back and forth. These defenses making plays.
2 picks. Wide side is shut down by Adrian Green. He's all over the place making plays. Really good. This Calgary young defense, 12 new starters. Everyone said, what's going to happen? We got to get better. They needed to take the football away better as a team. They are doing that. 3 takeaways last week, a couple takeaways today. They are showing up and making sure that taking the football away is a priority for them.
Great to see Adrian Green stepping into that role at field corner. Matthew Shinetti is standing alongside. He wears number 0, but he's got 2 on the board so far.
Well, Adrian, I know a pick 6 is always the way you want to end an interception, but what do you like better, the wide side pick or the tip drill?
Man, I don't have a preference. Just a chance to make plays on the ball. That's all that really matters.
You see any reads out of Arbuckle or the Argos offense in film this week that made you see, hey, they have some tells. I can go ahead and pick them off?
Nothing specific. Like, you just go through your drops, read the quarterback drop, and then read the route progression, and then once the ball's up in the air, go make a play.
Must feel good, though, coming home and making 2 picks in the first half.
Absolutely. Anytime I get on the field, it's an opportunity to make a play for me, and I'm excited about it.
Thanks for this.
Thank you.
Well, Kate, a little bit of a defensive showdown so far with Adrian Green's 2 picks and 1 pick 6. Stampeders up 5.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Chezzy.
He has to be starting tells. I got to tell.
Tell us.
Go ahead, tell us.
Go to your 4th progression and then throw a 45-yard out route late. That's a progression for me. Don't throw that. I mean, great play by Adrian Green and good for him.
So you're blaming Nick?
I'm saying great play. We got a DB first.
Okay.
Because he got 2 of them.
I was going to say, I'd be surprised that you weren't giving credit to the DB.
That was such a late throw. You can't throw that. I mean, the whole... Go ahead, KB.
I was going to say, would you just like to intro your own question? Or
let's do it.
I got you. you. Okay,
Yeah.
you know what? Defensively, sure, we could call this a defensive battle. And you're right, the two picks are great, but overall, I mean, Lapo mentioned it too on the broadcast. For Nick Arbuckle, it was just getting to the end of that half.
Right.
And look, Vernon's numbers aren't jumping out by any stretch of the imagination either. He's got 120 yards. But for Nick, for this 124, it's the 2 INTs, and it's just there's no rhythm whatsoever on this offense, Ches.
And no explosiveness. I don't feel like there's any threat. We kind of talked about it as we were sitting here. That offense is dink and dunk. He's not attacking down the field, Nick. And Lapo said it in the booth. He said that Nick, as a veteran quarterback, he said he understands offensive systems and what to do. And so I know if you're Paul Lapolice as an OC or Dinwiddie right now, you want a guy that you can trust that knows the offense. But if he's just throwing checkdowns, I mean, how many times in the first half, Enoch, do we see a 3-yard pass on 2nd and 10 with no chance of rack or yak and then tackle it? I mean, it's over and over again. And then finally, they decide to go down the field, and he throws a bad late out route. And then later on, you saw this play to Coxie for the PI, which I thought, this is what they need more of. That's the second pick. But then down the field to Coxie. I mean, if you have guys that make plays down the field, in CFL defense, you have to be aggressive. You have to take shots and give guys a chance. Throwing checkdowns and being safe, it's not going to win you games.
And whether it's Nick Arbuckle that doesn't have enough confidence to throw the deep balls, or if it's Brian Dinwiddie that's not making those calls, something's got to give at this halftime. They got to change a few things. But if something's working for this Toronto Argonauts team, it is that defense. That defense has been playing tremendously right now. They're flying to the ball. I mean, Diedrich Mills, the guy who we've been talking about all week, right? How he played super well last weekend. He had 94 yards on 17 carries last week. This week, first half, 5 carries, 3 yards, Davis. 3 yards, and this defense has been flying around to the ball. I mean, getting to Vernon Adams Jr., getting to Diedrich Mills, nothing has been able to get going right now. They have 6 first downs and nothing to show for the Calgary Stampeders. So they're going to have to get things going as well offensively, and this is a defensive showdown.
You know what's amazing, though, too? All we talked about in the preseason was all the guys that the Argos lost on defense, particularly that D-line. And then, look, I mean, look, I get it. Like, the first game is what it is. You're against the Montreal Alouettes. But I mean, that's certainly a positive for the Argos in this one, that they obviously have come together a little bit more and finding a little more chemistry second game into the season.
100%. I mean, they gave up 28 points last week. And this week, they look like they got things going, specifically on defense. Offensively speaking, the jury's still out. They still got things to make up for over there. But they got a ways to go still.
Yeah, VA does not look comfortable at all.
Not at all.
No, at all. I thought last week he looked really good and explosive. We said, oh, here they go. Not at all. Let's give credit. Until that last drive, the Argos defense held the Stamps to 2 first downs.
Yeah.
And obviously, we'd be remiss if we didn't mention the fact that his top receiver and guy he believes in, I'm sure, and Reggie Begelton is out.
Who's sick of seeing stars go down?
That is tough.
Like, this, no matter what you are, what fan you are of what team, Mike, I can't handle it. And Wynton McManus, too, is in the tent, too. They're looking at him. I mean, it's too much.
And we want to call names, so people's got to step up now. It's an opportunity.
Enoch wants his segment, so make a play, and Enoch's going to give you all the credit.
The knock list, the this list. You're just trying to take over the nation.
It's contract.
I want to create stars. That's all I want
We'll
to do.
chat the second half of doubleheader after this.
Everything I've done is done, and everything I say I do. Never had a lot to lose, so stand and deliver. My mama, she ain't proud of me, but tell me what you gonna do. Everything you heard is true. Now stand and deliver.
Well, the great news is the Argos and the Stampeders just game 1 of 2 on this double dip Saturday. Saskatchewan looking to jump out to a 2-0 record with their second straight win over an East Division opponent. Hamilton would not like that to happen after they lost their opener. How great is this, too? The Tiger Cats coming out in T-shirts today supporting their GM, Ted Govea, who's currently battling cancer. And Bo Levi Mitchell, once again starting. He had a really nice game stat-wise, coming off an over 300-yard passing performance. But as we know, a lot of those yards coming at the end of the game when it was a little bit out of reach. And Ches, you were just saying this, the key to this one for you is just getting pressures on the QBs today.
Yeah, both of them. I think both of them had clean pockets. I think for them, they feel good about their protection. We had questions entering both those lines, but in particular, Sack's offensive line. They did a good job of protecting Trevor. If you can get pressure on Trevor, we all know that that's the way to get after him, because he had almost 300 yards, put on 31 points, and I think that will be the key, is getting some pressure on Trevor will be the key for this Hamilton defense.
And when you talk about pressure, I love the defensive line by the Saskatchewan Roughriders. You talk about Shane Ray Carney. They already did some damage last week, and I'm looking for Mike Rose in the middle over there to make some damage as well. But Trevor Harris is one of those guys that if he has pressure, he's a guy that can get rid of the ball quick and make some reads even faster. And he's been known to let go of the ball really quick.
You can't blitz. You want to pressure, but you want to pressure with your front four.
Exactly. And Bo Levi Mitchell's seen a lot, but I feel like he's the type of quarterback that likes to get back and likes to kind of see the defense and then launch the ball. But I was excited for what I saw with regards to Sam Amulis last week. I mean, by halftime, he's already over 100 yards. He ended up with 133, 8 for 8, caught every ball that was thrown to him. Let's see what's going to happen week 2.
You know what I loved about Sass, too? I mean, yeah, Trevor was great. I mean, he had the 277, which was awesome, and the 2 TDs. But once again, it's the defense. When you have everything going for you, we talk about this with Montreal, too. I mean, it's easy on both sides.
I mean, look. Trevor Harris is that guy. He came back and he's healthy now, finally. And with a defense like that, if they continue the way they're playing, Kate, they're going to be a beast in the West.
I'm just mad that we can't say Thomas the Train.
I know.
Like, we're going to have a graphic, the choo-choo train. If anyone saw the Riders' locker room after their win, it was ready. You know what? We can't show you that, but what we can show you is some fabulous dog. Look at this little guy. Come on, get going.
Thomas the Train.
Quick 6.
A 5-point Calgary Stampeders advantage after one half of play. 16 combined first downs in that first half. Pretty similar in terms of total yardage between these two clubs as well. Let's head down and hear from Ryan Dinwiddie with Matthew Shinetti.
Ryan, first I want to ask you about Whit McManus, what his status is. He spent most of that second quarter in the tent. And Deontay McMahon, will you have him back in the game?
Yeah, so Whit is going to be out. Deontay is going to be available for us. We need, but I doubt he plays. Whit is not going to be a long-term thing, but it might be a week or two.
Now, taking a look at the offense, what kind of adjustments do you hope that Arbuckle makes in the second half?
Yeah, we just got to take care of the football, right? Like, we don't turn the ball over. We don't give them added momentum. We're right in the game, and we're still right in the game. We just got to make more plays. And we looked at the iPad at the half. We'll have some answers.
Thanks, Coach.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Oh, so Whit McManus down for this game. It sounds like perhaps a week or two. So further running expected for Isaac D'Arcangelo. We saw him make a couple of plays there in the second quarter. Lapo, and it seems like he's going to be in the lineup as well in the second half.
Talented player, has done a lot of good things, special teams, this organization, and play some of their packages when they have extra linebackers in the game. But D'Arcangelo is a really talented player.
Absolutely. Nick Arbuckle trying to get on the rails as he threw it down the sideline several times in that second quarter. Get this offense going. Great discussion from the panel at halftime of just confidence in Arbuckle and how they're trying to operate before Chad Kelly comes back from his leg injury sustained in the Eastern Final. So Rennie Paredes boots this one away. Had some injuries, had some huge defensive plays. Now we see where the second half takes us.
And let's start with defense, Marshall. Let's talk with both teams. Calgary defensively last season, they were last in the CFL in takeaways. And week 1, they have 3 takeaways, which place them first in the CFL. In the first half, they have 2 interceptions, 1 pick 6. So they're doing exactly what they want to do, get more playmakers to make plays, take the football away. And Toronto defensively, last week gave up 163 yards rushing. Calgary had 158 last week. Dedrick Mills almost 100. Dedrick Mills right now, 5 carries for 3 yards. So the Toronto Argonauts defense, they're stopping the run too. Both these offenses got to get in rhythm.
Arbuckle begins from his own 38-yard line with a handoff. Mayan Williams trying to get outside. The wall is built right there in front of it. Markel Lee as he adds to his tally in this ball game after a 10-tackle debut to 2025 last week.
I really enjoyed having a conversation with defensive coordinator Bob Slowick, and he said, hey, we're new. We got a bunch of new starters. We don't know each other. We're going to keep it really simple. We're going to do a couple of things well, and I'm going to make sure that I don't overload this group. And you heard, I loved hearing what he talked about. Hey, we got a bunch of guys who are fast and athletic. I don't want to overload their heads.
Slowick, 71 years young, defensive coordinator, trying to dial it up here against Arbuckle. Is this one the reach? And the unforgivable reach of Derek Moncrief. It seems like he has more range than any linebacker in the CFL because he just extends those paws and always gets there.
Yeah, you get a couple of deep players, and he's the underneath what you call zone. He's going to be the underneath zone player over here. And as everybody lifts, you got that throw underneath. You're trying to pull the deep players, trying to pull him over so you can throw the deeper route. He stays high enough so it forces you to throw the underneath, and he goes and makes a play.
Jason Shivers now with the Argonauts used to use him really creatively in Saskatchewan, but now they're going against each other in this Calgary-Toronto matchup as Tyshawn Blackburn down the field on special teams makes the play. Vernon Adams Jr., what'd you think of his first half, Lapo?
Well, you know, they used him on the perimeter a couple of times. You see here, this is a draw early in the game. You know, I think for him, they got to make sure they can run the football better to give them some more opportunities. They've been 2 and out a couple of times, and you know, he sees the pictures. He's got some nice throws. They just haven't put themselves in position. The thing that's hurt them is Rene Paredes usually is not going to miss any field goals. We got a couple of misses here. He's just got to get in rhythm. 7 of 13, 120 yards. Only one really errant throw that you were concerned about being intercepted. Just got to get him in rhythm.
Calgary will begin with the running game right up the middle without Winton McManus in the middle of that Argonauts defense, and that's close to a first down. We'll see where they spot it. Get out to the 43-yard line. They will give a first down to Calgary right away.
Yeah, just a run up inside on their tight zone. Very good by Dedrick Mills, just getting forward. This is how they got to start this game. This follows behind his blockers, breaks back inside.
How about the
first downs?
Awareness from Cam Judge there, who was literally pointing at the gap that they were about to run into, telling his defensive line, get over here, I need you. So Judge trying to get things organized against his ex-club. As this one quickly out of the hands of Vernon Adams Jr. Flag comes down at the end of the play. Looks like a hit on VA will move Calgary forward as Brooks gets involved in the offense after Beggleton and Damien Alford dinged.
This is the great part of his football game, Vernon Adams. There's a pressure from the strong side linebacker, blitzing off the edge. Vernon sees it immediately, throws right to that hole where the blitz came from. Makes a great play.
Major foul, roughing the passer. Toronto number 33. 15-yard penalty, first down.
And Kenneth George Jr., who was the one who was tangled up in the first quarter with Reggie Beggleton, gets the call.
Kenneth George Jr. coming off the edge on a pressure. And Vernon throws it right to that spot. And then, again, you cannot hit the quarterback below the knees. And that's going to be called every time. You got to stay up. You got to control your body. You're not allowed to. When the quarterback's in the pocket with his feet down, you cannot hit him.
26-yard net gain after the penalty is enforced as an Argonauts bucket goes rolling away from the play on the backside as they run the football inside as Jalen Philpott. The physicality we saw in that first half, they use him sometimes in the running game. This time just a straight-up handoff inside.
Yeah, and you know, you see Derek Parrish there involved in this, and I do like that they're continuing to try to start the second half. Hey, we still got to establish a run. It wasn't great for us. Let's make sure we don't eliminate that. Put ourselves in position we can be in second medium positions.
Dedrick Mills, first Calgary running back with 3 rushing touchdowns since 2017 when he had those against Hamilton last week. As you see the back end of the play as Coker and Chatfield exchange pleasantries. But right now, Dedrick Mills, 6 carries, 13 yards. So Vernon through the air tries to find Dominique Rhymes. And he will complete as Rhymes. It's his 3rd catch of this ball game. Just had the 1 last week against Hamilton.
Once again, big targets. Vernon gets pressure. You notice these 2 linebackers blitz. So that's going to leave all this space underneath. You just got to clear the linebacker or the underneath low player, and that's what happens. Dominic Rhymes goes down for this football. Nice spot. Puts himself into a good position to dive for that ball. Really good read by Vernon, knowing that both linebackers came. I just got to get this skinny post, put it to my big guy, let him go down for the football.
Confidence as well from VA to throw it to a spot. this early on in his Stampeders career. The schemes change, the skills don't, right? He's always been a good window thrower.
Yeah, and like what I love about, like, as I keep watching this football game, you know, we talked about how many guys for the Argonauts are gone out of this organization, but look at this front four. They're doing a really good job today stopping this run, this talented run game of Calgary. You know, you get Parrish, Christmas, Jordan Williams, Chatfield. They've done a really good job making sure that, hey, we're making Vernon, we're putting Vernon in a bunch of second and longs, and here he is again, second and 11.
Seems like just yesterday that was Oakman, Rimolade, Sorez, now like varying packages of those players. As the Argonauts look to jump offside, VA with a free play, looks downfield in the end zone. Now he'll use his legs to slide down and just take the penalty yardage as 2nd and 10. About to move forward, you would have to think. You see Cam Judge there, 52 games played for these Calgary Stampeders, 241 defensive tackles from 2022 to 2024.
Last year's
Offside. Toronto number 94. 5-yard penalty. Repeat, 2nd down.
And Cam Judge was the defensive player of the year, most outstanding nominee for the Calgary Stampeders. Top of the line right here. Right there. Right there. Lining up offsides.
Vernon now with 2nd down and 5 to go. Alford back into the game. VA looks towards Dominic Grimes on a corner route up into the end zone, incomplete. Good coverage. Running step for step, Mark Milton alongside Rhymes, who they hope in this Calgary offense will become a true score zone dominant player.
Yeah, Milton's in the back of the end zone. I think Vernon's just saying, hey, I'm going to try to take this big shot. I got a big receiver out here. I'm going to try to throw it up. Milton had really good position on that. And then BA's trying to look to get a call. See if the replay center will help him. Probably not. So a very important snap once again as we keep an eye on Aaron Crawford.
Injured in that first half. Looks like they're giving him some extra help inside with the wedge.
Great snap.
Locks it in. Fraser Muzzin puts it down. And Paredes gets to celebrate after knocking through another field goal. As Calgary crawling their way up the score sheets this week. Unlike last week where they put up 38 points on offense, it's been all defense and special teams thus far. The 2024 Grey Cup MVP, Nick Arbuckle, up and down first half. Not all that dissimilar, honestly, to what happened in Montreal in the Argonauts' Week 1 loss as he threw the pick six there to Adrian Reed. Came back and almost had this one picked off by Markel Lee as well. The ball up in some dangerous positions at times that feel very costly for the Double Blue.
Hopefully they can get the run game going so he's not throwing it on 2nd and long in those scenarios. And as we've said before, Nick just got to eliminate these critical errors. You know, as a quarterback, sometimes you just got to trust your defense and not put the ball in bad spots. And he's got a couple of those today.
Arbuckle looks to get it chance quickly this time. Put a little screen out to the wide side. Tavares Daniels fighting for more, and Markel Lee will turn him around right there. As Lee, a bit of discomfort, making his way back up onto his feet, and it looks like he's grabbing at that hand or wrist.
Nice early throw here by Nick. This is what, as quarterback, sometimes you throw these quick screens. You got to have great hips to be able to open your hips and locate these throws, get the ball in space. And again, sometimes the defensive backs will be 8 to 10 yards off. You throw this out there, it's like giving a running back the ball on the perimeter, turns into an 8-yard gain. Really good, just extension of a run play, basically. Get it out to your wide receivers, let them roll with the football.
So the 29-year-old out of Baltimore, Markel Lee, goes to the sideline slowly, looks frustrated as well after trying to bring down Tavares Daniels in that spot. Already 5 defensive tackles in this one. Sideline to sideline this week, told us that he loves the Canadian style of game, excited for the opportunity to show off what he can do, and he has been a major difference maker early on. But we're staring down the barrel right now of both stud middle linebackers not being in this ball game with McManus already out.
Yeah, Markel Lee, the interesting thing he said, he was a 4-year veteran, as you said, in the NFL. But he says, when I came up here, I was successful because I didn't care about felt my NFL. I respected the league. I said, listen, I haven't earned anything. I got to earn it every day. And sometimes guys come up from the NFL, Marshall, and they're like, they're kind of entitled. There's a little of entitlement. They think this league is not as good as it is. He did not show any of that. And that's what made the coaches love him so much.
So lead to the sideline here. Calgary's defense gets organized, and they'll fake the run. Arbuckle wants to load it up, and now back shoulder and almost intercepted. Dangling that one out in front. Number 35, Tyler Richardson, had just one interception last year. Almost picked one up right there.
Yeah, and you can see why, why would this happen on a 2nd and 3? Sometimes people say, well, why would you do this on 2nd and short? You're doing this because you're trying to create an explosive opportunity here at the quarterback position and the receiver position. Because on 2nd and short, you should get everybody in to stop the run. You get one-on-one man situation, which they do. He just doesn't trust the first throw. He goes to a secondary one. He's a little late with that throw, but that's why you take that shot, Marshall, on 2nd and short. Trying to get some man coverage, hard to make big plays versus zone.
Haggerty just bombs this punt, goes for 83 with the wind at his back, coming off of the leg. So the big leg from Australia booms it. 12-5 Calgary. 12-5 score.
How about Marshall's golf voice right there? That was spectacular. The golf voice.
Got to get with Duffy down at Augusta one of these days.
Yes. Producer Jamie Ryder.
And off inside, Diedrich Mills trying to get the wheels turning after a monster week 1. Going nowhere. This defensive front. Isaac Darkangelo filling in for Winton McManus and doing a tremendous job, as he has done really any time that Winton has been down the last couple of years.
Yeah, and you can see they're all about stopping the run. They get everybody at the line of scrimmage. You get the linebacker really close up to the line of scrimmage, and he's on a run blitz immediately, gets some penetration. That's the worst part of running the football, when anybody gets penetration, throw off the offensive line's alignments. It was a really good run stop by this football team today.
Vernon against the big pass rush again, steps underneath, gets it out. Damien Alford, the top pick, makes the grab and gets popped out of bounds as Sluka makes the play. There is a flag down as well. And this looks like probably holding against the Calgary Stampeders, yes.
Calgary number 54, 10-yard penalty, repeat 2nd down.
And there's an injured Argonaut down on the field as well at the end of that play. Looks like a defensive lineman. That is Marcus Christmas.
Yeah, Joshua Coker looks like drew it. Okay, at right tackle here, you're going to see the hold. Yeah, you can't really do that. You can't actually tackle him and bring him to the ground and cover him up like that. That's an easy call for the officials.
Say this about Chatfield, though. He's been active, if nothing else, right?
Yeah,
we've said his name a lot.
Yeah, coaches really liked him, and how he came over here was Greg Marshall was in Ottawa last season and had him, and he really felt, hey, I like this young guy, and I think we may lose some of our veteran guys. When he started hearing some free agents were leaving the building, he said, why don't we bring this player in? And he's been a good player. And as I said this last week, I think Coach Marshall likes him also because he's from Oregon State.
There you go. Good to see Christmas walking off under his own power. I will say this about Coker as well. You can't really blame him for wrapping up. He is the Georgia State wrestling champion from 2015.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's a bit of a wrestling move there.
That's a good pull by Marshall Ferguson right there. Look at that pull right there.
It's amazing how the body mechanics just come back in the middle of a rep. You go, get down here. No, different sport. Stand-up defensive line, different look from the Argonauts this time on 2nd and 1,000,000. Vernon Adams Jr. converted one of these on 2nd and 17 with a quarterback draw. Now he looks to use the wheels and slides his way down. Took some contact there as well, but no flags on the play. Cam Judge chasing him down.
It's really good by the defense because you just don't want to give him a lot of time. You want to make sure you play coverage, drop everybody back, but make sure you don't let him run around and scramble and find big plays, but everybody's watching him. Cam Judge is there. Kassar is there in their extra linebacker package on 2nd and long.
Judge might have just saved Kassar from taking an unnecessary roughness penalty, but the little friendly fire that time. 8 doing everything, taking hits from his own guys.
Okay, once again, this is a big play. Theron Crawford being injured earlier. We'll see how this snap is on this punt.
Fraser Muzzin, top pick in this year's global draft, out to hammer it away from Ole Miss. And he hangs it up in the wind. Dave Unger, a 47-yard punt. Great coverage, going nowhere. As the Calgary Stampeders 1-0 right now on the road in Toronto. Just 11 wins over the last 2 years. They're looking to start 2-0 in 2025 here at BMO Field.
We have a challenge by Ryan Dimrady, challenging that there's no yards on this punt return. So the coaches can challenge for if someone was in the 5-yard halo. I guess they're challenging whether Onyeka here is Godfrey Onyeka is within the 5-yard halo. So the CFL replay center will take a look at that and see what happens.
Officials got a tough job, man. It's kind of like using the naked eye in order to call curling. Like knowing exactly what the circumference of the 5-yard halo zone is. But
yes.
Replay center has the call.
Toronto challenged the previous play for no yards. After review, the ruling on the field stands. Toronto will be charged with timeout.
Ooh, man, so Toronto decides to challenge in the third quarter on a no yards call and lose the challenge.
Yeah, difficult. Tough to tell from this angle, but heels at the 30. It's a tough one right there.
Right on the edge of it.
It's right on the edge. I guess they didn't feel it was conclusive.
And that's why there's not a replay center in curling. So 1st and 10 for the Argonauts. We'll hand it off inside. Big contact. Derek Moncrief stepping up. And makes a nice play right in the hole that time. Mayan Williams, the big back from Ohio State.
Yeah, the hard part is sometimes with Moncrief as that strong side linebacker, sometimes the offensive line doesn't really count him in their schemes. And then when he blitzes in, you'll see him blitz, show up right here, not counted by the offensive line, creates a negative yardage football play.
Well, I'd start counting Moncrief. If you don't, he's going to keep making plays like that over and over again.
You got to handle him. When they blitz him inside, you got to have other answers.
4-man rush here from the Stampeders. Orimolade giving chase, can't get there. Check down underneath. Mayan Williams makes 1-man miss. Now 2, 3, 4. And a first down conversion on 2nd down and 10. Never easy in the CFL, especially when you're throwing it underneath.
And this is certainly what you have to do at times in the Canadian Football League. You have to trust your underneath backs that when everybody's covered, you check it down, and he makes at least one person miss. Here he makes 2 people miss and get the yardage for the first down.
Gain of 14 yards, all of them earned by Williams that time, is now Arbuckle rolling to his left and finds Unger along the sideline. Another Argonauts first down as Arbuckle waiting out the defender, and Dinwiddie's got the offense rolling.
He reads the end, breaks it out on the outside. Now he's got plenty of time, and that's the key to these moving the pocket. You now have time to wait for receivers to get open. Unger out to the sideline. Again, trying to go tempo to change the rhythm of the game.
Ripping it outside. Unger makes the grab, and he'll be tossed backwards that time by Richardson. But Unger continues to rack up the numbers here today. A gain of 7 on that pass catch, and leads the Toronto Argonauts with 8 targets in this ball game, tied for the team lead with 5 catches.
Yeah, 55 yards for Unger. Then again, I like this series by Ryan Dimwitty. This is what's called the 3-step, where the ball's out immediately out of the quarterback's hands. 6-yard route, throws to the softness of the defense, close to the sideline, puts him in 2nd and medium. It was a good series for the Argos.
And the question now is, can they convert and actually cash in? We're nearing the end of this third quarter, and no touchdowns thus far. Just 10 points in week 1 in their loss against the Montreal Alouettes, as Moncrief once again right there on Kevin Mittal.
And sometimes he throws to the wide side of the field with the ball being in the air so long on this outbreaking route. This is the right, this is a good read for Nick. But what happens sometimes, the cavalry's coming. They're going to knock you, and you're not going to get the first down yardage. That's why sometimes you don't want to make those throws horizontally when you don't have to. But great play by Moncrief coming up, knocking this back to make this a 3rd and, a long 2 prevents any chance of going forward on 3rd and short.
Damon Webb, late substitution, sprints off the field so they can get the returner Eric Brooks on. Should Liram Hairolahu miss? Already hit going this direction early on in the 3rd quarter. And Liram leans into this one. He likes the swing. It's true. so a 12-8 ball game. Field goals back and forth. Defensive plays up and down the board. And the Argonauts trying to find a way to win their home opener here as they celebrate banner number 19. Going into a Grey Cup, never an easy thing, especially when you're quarterback and you're prepping on a short week and you're up against all sorts of different adversity, but it was a much harder week than many people understood. For more, let's go down to Matthew Shinetti.
Yeah, no doubt about it, Marshall, because although Nick Arbuckle was dealing with a horrendous cough in the week leading up to Grey Cup, and really on Grey Cup Day, he was bent over and coughing most of pregame and most during the game, especially when Willie Jefferson was going off after him. But Nick Arbuckle had pneumonia during the game, and most of his teammates didn't even know. And Ryan Dinwiddie obviously knew, and as I was talking to the Argos throughout the offseason and asked them, did you know that Nick had pneumonia? They said, no, we know he was coughing, but we didn't really understand what he was dealing with. And maybe a finer point on it, and I was wondering why, but Nick Arbuckle hasn't even watched the 111th Grey Cup. He said, all I remember is the wind, the confetti, holding my daughter and seeing my wife. Everything else was a blur, and amidst the coughing, you can understand why.
Thank you, Matthew. What an amazing anecdote on what was already a historic performance for the Grey Cup MVP as Tevin Jones gets a little flip underneath, and the speed sweep works for a first down here for the Calgary Stampeders.
Okay. So you're going to see this is a nice little, you're going to run people this direction, fake a zone play this way, but then give it to the slot coming across the field. Some misdirection, wrong way run. So everybody chases to run to the left, but you're actually flipping the ball on the outside. Really good execution, getting it to Tevin Jones there.
Go back to the running game, run it towards the single receiver side where Tevin Jones trying to get a block, but Dedrick Mills just can't get free against this front from the Argonauts.
Yeah, but I appreciate Dedrick Mills and keep giving him the football. Now, interesting, we interviewed Dedrick Mills, and you were talking how well he catches the ball this season. I was talking about how quick he looked, and at one point, I think he was going to be like, what did you guys think? I was terrible at TSN last year? You're saying I catch the ball better than last year? You're saying I look quicker than last year?
Well, you had one touchdown all season. You had 3 in the first week. You look different. Toronto bringing them back to earth here today a little bit. Now second down and 8. Adams Jr. steps forward. Oh, Mick Jack Cassar missing a phone booth and slides down short of the marker on second down and 8. And VA knows it, gets up looking, and now Dave Dickinson's got a decision to make.
This is the hard part of Vernon Adams. So this is man coverage, and they assigned one player to Vernon Adams because they don't want the quarterback to run versus man coverage. And the guy who is responsible for him can't make the tackle, right? So that is the hardest part. Darkangelo's there. He's supposed to be the spy on the quarterback, but the quarterback does what he needs to do. He makes the man-to-man player miss. That's the beauty of having mobility at the quarterback position, something, Marshall, you probably did many a time at McMaster University.
Never. I was also terrible at this. PJ Walker in for short yardage. It's a lead to the right-hand side and pick up the first down with ease. Quincy Vaughn, the third-string quarterback, also in the ball game there. He's being used because they decided William Longley not dressing this week, so 7 offensive linemen, plus Quincy Vaughn, the third-string quarterback, being in as a fullback tight end. He's been in the blocking schemes throughout this afternoon. Number 19 you see there.
So when you design what you're going to do, sometimes you don't like running it right up here. You run it off tackle. And what does that mean? That's where all the defensive backs are. You run it wider. And it allows you to get a little bit of rhythm and go. Even though there's people at the end of the line of scrimmage, they just don't have the angle, and you break up and inside. So really good push by the offensive line there to get that first down.
You know Tommy Stevens is watching that somewhere in Saskatchewan going, I would have scored on that.
I would have gotten 6 more yards on that.
Tommy's tough to bring down, man. He was great in this Calgary short yardage unit. Now with the Riders after signing in free agency, and they'll give it back to Mills on the final play of the third quarter. Rumbles his way across the 40-yard line. So maybe a sign of things to come in the fourth quarter, clinging on to a 4-point advantage. The Calgary Stampeders start to bring the running game to life in a back-and-forth affair between two teams that know each other oh so well. Quinton McManus and Reggie Beggleton, some of the stars of the league dinged, but the unsung hero, Adrian Green, the only touchdown thus far. Calgary Stampeders just trying to get to the finish line in this one. A 12-point output thus far after 38 points last week against the Hamilton Tiger Cats. Both teams have 12 first downs. Not a huge difference in total yardage. The turnover's the key, of course, and the real difference is the pick six right now of Adrian Green coming home out of St. Mary's, a Toronto native, and getting into the end zone. But specifically for Calgary, as they try to figure out how to close this one out, it's the offensive play calling that has your eye, Lapo.
Yeah, and there's 63 rushing yards. The run game is getting better and better as this game wears on. Dedrick Mills getting his carries. We talked to Dave Dickinson this week about, not being the play caller. And, Pat Delmonico, offensive coordinator, he called the plays for a couple of games last season at the end of the year. But this year, he has relinquished that duty. He still has say. He still talks about things. But it was a great conversation with him. He said it allowed him to do more things, and he really enjoyed Pat's ability to game plan.
Oh, a little flea flicker here. VA over the top for Rhymes. He underthrew it, and Rhymes adjusts, gets onto his feet, and reaches for the end zone. They'll say he's down inside the one. Fireworks to begin the fourth quarter.
Well, we talked about play calling and making a shot play. Here it is, the flea flicker. You put out everybody at the line of scrimmage so it looks like a run play. That also allows you to have maximum protection because you don't need a lot of receivers out. You throw it to one or two guys. Vernon just underthrows this a little bit. Dominic Grimes gets behind the defense, but makes a great play coming back to the football. And again, sometimes the defensive back, you can see right there, you can see Terrence McFadden is looking into the backfield. Tavares, you can't do that. You got to keep your eyes on your defender, especially in man. But he gets caught in the backfield. Great adjustments, how he spinned to make that play. But Dominic Grimes comes down with it. And that's one of the things we were talking with Dave about. I was like asking him about, you have an offensive line coach as your offensive coordinator, and he's like, yeah, sometimes, for Pat Delmonico, I had to tell him last week to run the ball a little bit more. Yeah. Usually it's the other way around, but he had a good feel for how to call the game. They work together as a group, designing what they're doing, the game plan.
Jack Cassar and Celestin Haba, late substitutions in on the defensive side for Toronto. So Vernon Adams Jr. with Dominic Grimes on the sideline, hands it off inside, trying to go back to that short yardage package that was so successful in week one against Hamilton. And no signal as of yet.
I think that man we like to call Dark Angelo, which is kind of like a comic book name. Like, is in on the tackle, comes in off the edge.
And is it a touchdown? Yes.
I think Dedrick Mills' extra effort got him into a touchdown situation.
And a question from VA, we going for two or not? But first offensive touchdown of this ball game goes to Dedrick Mills, his fourth of the season.
After one, as you said last year. Good push. This was a second effort. You can see him stopped right there. And again, it looks like he crosses the plane. You just have to cross the white of the strip, and obviously it looks like he went in. They're just going to check to see whether they can see if his knee was down before. It looked like he spun in for the touchdown.
So in a game where there's not a lot of offensive scoring, but Jalen Philpott has crossed the 1,000-yard career mark. Dominic Grimes in this game has gone past the 5,000 yards career mark. Got the top pick, Damian Alford, right there. But it's the running back, Dedrick Mills, who continues to be the one hitting pay dirt at the end of drives for the Calgary Stampeders.
And I think that's a really good thing for this Calgary Stampeders football team. So you think of it, we went out and got this shiny new quarterback who can use his legs. He can throw the ball all over the park.
Touchdown.
And, you get this player, but we also want to build a run game around him. We are in the West. We got to play a lot of teams that, inclement weather, we want to make sure we can still establish a run. You're seeing that 2 weeks in a row, so they just don't have to put it all on the quarterback. And Vernon certainly using his legs is always going to make it harder to defend a run game because he can pull it and get it on the perimeter, Marshall.
You see 2023 Grey Cup champion Jedred Antwi right there as well, alongside Dedrick Mills, and saw a little bit of Antwi last week, 9 carries.
He's a punter, correct?
But he hasn't been in at all in this ball game as a flag comes up on the extra point. They do decide to just go for the single, so we'll sort out the penalty.
Jeshron Antwi, the specialist of dribble kicks in the Canadian Football League, previously with Montreal Alouettes. There's Pat Delmonico, offensive coordinator, looking at the iPads, and they're not watching a show. They're not watching Last of Us. No, they're not, Crave. They're watching clips. And that's the beauty of these things on the sideline. They can go and watch all the plays that were run on the previous series, get information. And you know what's good about those? Back in the day before those, the players used to always tell me, I was wide open. I was wide open. No, you weren't. Look, now you can show them they're lying to you.
Well, they get into the end zone. Dietrich Mills powers the legs. Derek Sluka did everything he could to keep him out, but 26 for 6, and Pat Delmonico loves it. Dietrich Mills last week against the Hamilton Tiger Cats, his first 3-touchdown game since October 2018 for Garden City Community College. He also had 3 touchdowns in his second ever NCAA game, Georgia Tech against Vanderbilt. He was powering the legs into the end zone and again makes his impact felt here today as he adds his 4th already on the season.
Yeah, the last time a Stampeder running back had 3 touchdowns in a game was 2017. Jerome Mesa, and you know he had a great talk. He stayed in Calgary this offseason. He said, I wanted to be quicker. I wanted to work on my change of direction. I wanted to make sure I was coming in as best shape of my career. And he really enjoyed training camp. As we said before, working with Vernon Adams, he just loved the energy in the building.
Looks like it's paid off for now as Jake Herslow makes his way out to the 30. Had to earn every bit of that as the Calgary coverage units led by special teams coordinator Craig Dickinson, of course, formerly from the Saskatchewan Roughriders as the bench boss in Regina, but now running the special teams unit that had a huge impact on the way that the game unfolded last week in the victory over Hamilton. And he's trying to make sure that his crew seals this one as well. 19-8, but now Toronto, Lapo in a tough spot as they're trying to open up the offense, and the clock is going to keep winding.
Yeah, as you see Craig Dickinson there, you know, there is some change to this organization, and popular assistant coaches left this building, and it sometimes doesn't mean you're not a good coach. It's just they needed a change.
As Arbuckle gets this one away, gets popped as he ditches it underneath. It is complete. Jake Herslow getting the grab. A flag comes up on the play as well as Tom Valesi has the call.
Illegal contact to Calgary number 48. That penalty be declined. Play results in a first down.
Jacob Roberts the flag, but it is declined, and so they'll move the sticks here for Toronto.
And that's what I was saying, you know, is as we see this penalty here. Okay. Low halfback right here. Missed it. Good throw in there, perimeter.
Arbuckle rips it to the outside, complete. Monte Coxey with Richardson right there in coverage, and a gain, looks like 9.5 right next to the front. Oh, they will actually move the sticks. First down.
I mean, talking about Craig Dixon on defense right now, Bob Slowick, defense coordinator, there are some changes in the organization, and both those guys have really stood up in the first 2 weeks of the season. You said Craig made a great influence last week. This defense has been spectacular through 2 weeks of the season, so hats off to Dave Dickinson, trusting himself to make change.
Arbuckle rips this one complete once again. As the gang tackling of this Calgary defense.
And this is some of the best stuff that Nick does. These are to the top of the screen. You're getting zone coverage, people at depth. What do? You catch the ball and you throw it 6-yard hitches. And again, defenses are going to give you this throw, and they're hoping you either drop it, you're inaccurate. But this keeps quarterbacks on schedule, keeps you in a position where you can run the football now at 2nd and 3. And Nick's very good at throwing this underneath stuff.
Tavares Daniels adding to his illustrious career. Now spent as much time here in Toronto as he has in Calgary. A lot of people identified him as a Stampeder back when, but Arbuckle gets this one away, gets popped as he let the football go. And Arbuckle climbs slowly back up onto his feet. Took a shot at the end of that play.
Yeah, he was trying to take a shot down the middle of the field. He had a throw down here and up and in. He just didn't have enough time because the protection broke down, but he still was good enough to climb the pocket, avoid, and find his check down for the first down.
Handed off inside. As Clarence Hicks was the one that delivered the blow at the end of that last play. Also, George Idoko coming in as a rotational, listed as the 3rd stringer defensive end out of the University of Saskatchewan. He's in trying to get home to the quarterback as well. So lots of different bodies rolling through this defense for the Calgary Stampeders right now with 11 minutes remaining in the 4th.
in field goal range. Just don't want to do anything to take you out of that field goal range area.
Also got to be aggressive, trailing 19-8. They've had limited opportunities deep in Calgary territory. Arbuckle looks left, comes back to the right. Now he has to dance the pocket. Time running out, and he goes down. Still in field goal range for Liram Hairolahu, but that one hurts.
Just backs him up to really long field goal here now. So he's trying to take some throws downfield. He's trying to find the pictures to the right of your screen. As he's trying to scramble around, can't find anybody, and as he goes, really good by the defense here. I thought he was going to sneak through there, but was able to put himself good position. Defenders did a good job of keeping him in the pocket and come up and making a play.
Arbuckle 4 for 4 on that drive. Now 24 of 32 in the ball game, but just barely crossing 200 yards total. Vernon Adams Jr. has not done that yet. That yardage through the air, not great, but the right foot of Liram Hairolahu, usually great. Ryan Dinwiddie chipping away, taking the field goal, trying to get back into this one after Dietrich Mills had the major. But that Calgary defensive line that had a CFL high 21 bodies in training camp, paying off, getting home on Arbuckle. TSN Plus all season long is where you can find those. George Russell storms the pole position in quali as the Mercedes man beating Max Verstappen and Oscar Piastri to take P1. Love it. See what George can do in the big race coming up tomorrow from El Notre Dame as this one fades over the head of Dietrich Mills. Vernon Adams Jr. up onto his feet, but a 2nd and 10 coming up.
A little bit of zone coverage from the Argos. Vernon's trying to get through his progressions. He's looking right as he starts flipping. He feels the pressure of the front of the Argos. It just kind of puts in a position to throw the ball away. So his front's doing a good job whether they rush 3 people or 4. So really good push from the front 4.
There's Celestin Haba getting into the mix at the Texas A&M, Columbia, South Carolina. First year with the Toronto Argonauts. You can say that for a lot of the players in their front this season. Here in week 2, Vernon Adams Jr. looks over the top. Jalen Philpott hangs in the air, and Philpott makes the play.
Great timing, great picture. Jalen Philpott at the bottom of the screen is going to end up running a corner route to the corner of the end zone. Vernon recognizes that he's got a one-on-one matchup. He takes it, throws it at a high angle. You always talk about throwing it at the highest point.
Eric Brooks on the quick screen
throw on the outside, and then Eric Brooks. They're going tempo right away. Worried if it was a catch or not. So going real quick. Take a look at this catch. This is great. Take your guy, give him a chance, throw it up, let him high point the ball. That's a great catch. That's what you're trying to do. Jalen Philpott, like, I'm going to give my guy a one-on-one opportunity to make the play on the outside. Great throw and catch. Great young player.
I was waiting for the super slow-mo. I needed it. I needed that hanging, dangling through the air, finding a way as VA almost drops the snap. Now gets a little bit nervous, runs into his left, looking downfield, cuts it back, and VA goes head first across the 10-yard line.
And that's the thing I love about VA, watching him in the last 2 weeks. Last week, he only had 33 yards rushing, so I think he's evolved from when he first came in the league. He's more of a guy who's looking to find the next throw downfield, and that's how he got some of the big throws. That's how Clark Barnes got his big throws. So he will run when he has to, but he's really looking to create the explosives in the pass game when he uses his legs.
Amazing about that shot, too, in the replay is you can see, even as he's making people miss, he's already planning for what's next. He doesn't even care about the guy.
His processing speed is outstanding.
See what he can do here on 2nd down and 4. Midway point of the 4th quarter. Calgary leads by 8. The snap comes up quick. VA looks to his left, comes back right. Now he's going to go for a run. Vernon Adams Jr. to the end zone. Touchdown, Calgary.
We just talked about his legs and having that ability. You know, I think he was asking for this snap. It was getting late. He looked to his left real quick. I don't think he really trusted, or his eyes were ready to know what's going on. He felt a little bit of rush. Now he just says, all right, can I start running? Can I go in and make the play close to the end zone? So that's the thing the defenses are going to hate. A guy who, hey, I didn't get the snap clean. I didn't like the picture on the outside. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take off and run. Nice touchdown by VA. Nice drive. Jalen Philpott, big throw down the sideline. Gets the VA, gets it inside. Really good response by this Calgary Stampeders team.
No team scored less points in 2024 than the Calgary Stampeders, just 410 points for. They had 38 last week. They're at 26 now after the extra point from Rene Paredes. And this man right here, he's not the only reason, but he's a massive reason why the Stampeders are putting up the points. Just 5 plays, 70 yards in 2 minutes, 35 seconds. And Vernon Adams Jr. started it off with a bang to Jalen Philpott, and then it was quickly back to action.
Eric Brooks on the screen on the outside, then using his legs to find some space, get some yards, put him in second game closer. Doesn't get a clean picture what he's going to do once he run it in for the touchdown. No, I love the throw to Jalen Philpott, trusting his guy on the outside. It's man coverage. I'm going to give you the opportunity outside. And again, this is what this guy gives you. It gives you a guy that everybody in the building goes, all right, that guy can lead us to a championship. Whether you're on offense, defense, or special teams, you know that VA gives you great opportunities every week to win a football game.
Big special teams tackle flying down. It's Arnold, one of the starters on defense, making his special teams impact felt as well. But kind of bring it full circle back at the beginning of this game, Reggie Begelton goes down with injury. And Reggie said to us going into week 1, the biggest thing for this Calgary Stampeders team is proving ourselves right, not everyone else wrong. And when you talk about VA winning a Grey Cup, even Dave Dickinson has said, well, a lot of people think we're not going to be any good. We're not going to, push the playoffs. We're not going to make the dance. We're not going to. With that guy,
absolutely.
Who says no?
There was a lot of talk about their facilities. The ownership group did a great job of fixing a lot of things they needed done. They got a new turf.
Attacking the checklist, certainly, for the Calgary Stampeders. Now, the Argonauts trying to check off just getting a victory. They're 0-1 right now and trailing by 15 with 6.5 minutes remaining.
Yeah, and there's plenty of time left, so just do what you're doing right here. As Calgary's playing a lot of zone coverage, get it to Coxie underneath, let him make somebody miss and get first downs.
Arbuckle quickly to the line. On a 1st and 10 after the gain of 20. Hangs that one up into the sun. And it looks like Coxie might have lost it for a second, but found a way to haul it in and pick up another first down. So 2 plays, 31 yards gained. And Toronto back to the line of scrimmage. Good
Understanding by Nick that the one-on-one's on the outside in some of the zones, so he takes Coxie all the way on the outside for a nice first down on first down.
3 defensive linemen in the game right now for the Stampeders. Larna Remolade trying to bend around the edge, can't get there as it's checked down out to the sideline. And not surprising to see number 48 Jacob Roberts making the play. 301 tackles in his NCAA career between North Carolina A&T and Wake Forest.
Yeah, a couple, both Markel Lee Roberts, both from Wake Forest. Interesting stat. Once again, there's going to be all these underneath throws. Calgary's going to give you these underneath throws. You never go broke, put money in the bank, Marshall. Just keep taking those throws when they're available to you.
Well, why am I broke?
It's because of all your motorcycles. Lord, you guys got like 18 of them.
Yeah, sure. 9 straight completions for Nick Arbuckle. In rhythm, now looking over the middle, and it's caught, coming back across the 20, and to the end zone. Come on, Dave Coxie. Toronto has life.
This is what we just talked about, Marshall, right? You want to short, and then eventually a shot play could happen for you. Middle of the field, vertical stretch. They climb the pocket. You only have a 3-man rush. The problem with 3-man rush defensively is sometimes you give the quarterback too much time. Gets it to Coxie in the middle of the field. Makes one person miss. Easy touchdown. Really good throw. Going for 2 here, Marshall.
Monte Coxie and the offense stay on the field as much needed life. On the night that they hang banner number 19, the touchdown streamers have flown out of that lakeside end zone. And
timeout, Dickinson. Dave called the timeout.
Yeah.
Timeout, Calgary.
I always always wonder this, Lap, when you have a play called and you start to break that, go into formation, defense calls the timeout, you have a set 2-point that you want to run. Does Ryan Dinwiddie immediately goes back to the
depends on whether
the same play?
Well, it depends on whether you've seen it. So what you're going to get here is you have somebody clearing out and then somebody coming behind that clear out. And what you're trying to do is take the top off the coverage, move people out of the way, and throw it over the linebackers. You're going to see that here. Why is Coxie the guy doing it? Because he's big. You want to throw it over the linebackers big. They clear out the space. He makes one miss, cuts the weak arm, or cuts across the grain on the last guy. That's a great play. Good execution. It's a great drive by the Argos. Get back in this. Short plays. We'll take a shot. If it's not there, don't worry about it. Throw the check down.
Where do they go to here? Maya Williams is in the backfield next to Arbuckle. 4-man rush. Arbuckle keeps it. He's got an open lane. The 2-point. And Nick walks it in.
Nick's done this very well all night. No defensive end playing contain. They're in man coverage. I'm going to pull it right in. There's nobody responsible for the quarterback. So good understanding of what he's trying to do here. Players coming off the edge. Go back to the touchdown. You can see Coxie right over the top of the linebackers. He's kind of getting underneath the underneath route. Break cuts across the grain. There's their big play receiver from last season and back to this season, becoming the same guy. And then you see the convert. There ain't a soul over there, Marshall. I think me and Marshall could have run in there.
Right? It's just a good read by Nick Arbuckle.
Two safeties that are deep. He understood it was man coverage. He knew nobody was there, so he just pulled the ball and ran it inside. You know, with Coxie, he's got 44. He's got 2,000 career yards of this. He's been a great player for this league. I enjoy watching him. The first time I ever was on the sideline going, wow, this is a big football player. He's a big, tall guy.
Physical receiver as well. Likes those shot plays with that one, earning it over the middle and yards after the catch. The result is big hit there at the end of the play. A couple of Argonauts running into each other as Brooks returns the football out, and Vernon Adams Jr. Well, it's not just going to be a celebratory waltz to 2-0. He's going to have to find a way to finish this ball game off as the offensive line start to dap each other up and know they're about to go to work and try to run the football maybe a little bit with Dietrich Mills.
A great 2-point conversion, right, to make this now a 7-point game. Really good. All they have to do is just play normal football. They don't have to worry about extra plays.
And there's your D3 guy on the back end trying to force a turnover. Derek Sluka.
Ithaca College Bombers.
Staring down Vernon Adams Jr. right now. And the Stampeders offense. They'll start with a screen to the outside. Jalen Philpott running through arms.
Run pass option for the Calgary Stampeders. If there's space over here and nobody covering down Jalen Philpott, quarterback's just going to say, I'm not going to hand the ball off. I'm going to throw it out there. And you see, you have 3-on-3 blockers. Those 3 blockers make the blocks. Jalen Philpott gets the ball in his hand just like a running back.
Last year, the East was 22-16 against the West. So far, the West 2-0 against the East this season. Calgary trying to make it 3-0 for Western domination to kick off 2025 in the Canadian Football League. But Derek Parrish and that Argonauts defense trying to do anything they can to reverse the trend early on.
Parrish trying to get some pressure. Had 6 pressures last week. But a manageable second and medium for the Stampeders.
And I'm wondering what call VA just got into his helmet because he gave it one of those, man, really?
He liked it or he didn't like it? What do you think?
I couldn't tell. Let's all find out together, shall we?
Well, fans will like it if it works. They'll hate it if it don't, right? Doesn't matter.
2nd and 5. They'll throw. Vernon rolls to his right. Throws McFadden, gives up the edge, and VA will slide down inbounds. Well, the fans will love that.
Very smart. Very good understanding to slide inbounds to make sure the clock keeps running. Got to keep contained. That's the hard part. With an inside move like this, he recognizes it that there's no defensive end in contain. If the defensive end goes inside, if Chatfield goes inside, Jordan Williams has got to come over and wrap over. Not sure if that was a twist, but you can't lose contain on this football player. There's just too much space for him to make the defensive backs miss when they try to make a play in zone.
His legs making an impact today. He throws away from the blitz that time. Kenneth George Jr. came, and VA rips it to the outside. The old extended handoff goes once again to Jalen Philpott.
One of the most underrated things about Vernon Adams is his ability to catch the ball without the laces and throw the ball on the perimeter. There is a pressure from the linebackers. You'll see that coming right off the edge. Kenneth George, he just takes the football and immediately throws it out to Jalen Philpott. They block on the perimeter, and once again, another gain to put them in second and medium. Watch this. Doesn't even see it. He does not have the laces. This is what you have to do in the game of pro football nowadays. Throw without the laces and immediately.
That time he has the laces, and he has Tevin Jones for another first down. And so it's a 3-minute warning with 2:44 remaining. The Calgary Stampeders leading 26-19, looking to move to 2-0. Their largest lead was 24 against the Hamilton Tiger Cats last week. A scrappy effort. They're nearing the finish line here in week 2. I'll tell you where I'm going after this game's done. Straight down the QEW, the rare Southern Ontario doubleheader. It's the Rough Riders and the Tiger Cats. It's next on TSN and CTV. You will not miss any of that game if you stick here with us all the way to the end of this one that looks like we have a tremendous finish in store.
Eastern doubleheader doesn't happen often. How about that?
I'm thankful for a June Saturday 4 p.m. kick. This is wonderful. I feel like it should be October. We should be all bundled up. Cool breeze coming off the lake. It's gorgeous out here. Great crowd as well. 17,900 in attendance. As Vernon Adams Jr. fakes the run and takes a home run shot over the top, and Philpott hangs onto it at the 15-yard line.
This was a huge play. This is a man. Everybody low, so the quarterback knows where it is. He's going to take the fade by the slot. It's a one-on-one matchup. You throw it before the free safety can get there with a quick action fake. Huge high hands by Philpott. That's what you do when it's man coverage. You want to take that opportunity. That was a huge play right at that part of the field, because if they, they're at a 57-yard field goal at that point. They flip the field now. Now they can be very conservative, kick a field goal, make this a 10-point game.
How about the afternoon?
Great throw, great catch.
Jalen Philpott, Lapo. 8 targets, 6 catches, 117 yards receiving. That one, he mistimed his jump, and he was just floating sideways through the air. As they'll give it off to Dedrick Mills inside. Last week, it was Clark Barnes having a career best 112-yard effort. 112 yards on 4 catches, excuse me. And week 1's longest play went to Clark Barnes. It hasn't been the massive 60, 70, 80-yarder for Jalen Philpott, but he's been watching his twin brother in Montreal make some big plays over the last couple of years and said, I could be the explosive guy here in Calgary. Why not?
Well, I mean, you got to give a hats off to the Calgary Stampeders organization for one thing. If Jalen Philpott re-signs, one of the reasons he re-signs, because they have a quarterback, Vernon Adams, in the building. And the relationship between these two guys is going to only grow and grow. And it's been fun to watch them start the game. And I love these national guys who are leading this team in offense on both sides.
Second down now. VA hands it off. Mills holds onto the football. Grinds a little bit of clock. It is amazing to think that all we've talked about this offseason with VA coming in, you got to get receivers with catch radius. Dominic Grimes, 6'4". Tevin Jones, 6'3". They bring in the big rookie, 6'6", Damien Elford, the top pick. Who has the big afternoon today? All 6 foot of Jalen Philpott, right? We talk
David Ungerud had a good game for Toronto.
We talk about length and explosive. It's like, no, if you can play, you can play.
Yep.
Mills doing his job, and the Argonauts defense on the other side closing the doors. Anthony Lanier needed to. Looks like they'll reset the play clock here. Get set for Rene Paredes to tack 3 more on the board and make this a 10-point Stampeders advantage.
And we want to remind that Crawford did leave the game earlier at some point, so this will be a big snap for him. He seemed great. after he left the game and came back.
It looked like one of the previous field goals as well. They gave him some extra help on the inside just because that leg obviously is not as strong as it needs to be. In this game right now, so they pinch it down. Perfect. In a must-have situation, and great execution from the Calgary Special Teams unit. VA appreciates.
You know, sometimes you're sitting here, it's great that you give your quarterback opportunities. Like you were sitting at 1st and 10, you have a shot play. Hey, sometimes in man coverage, it's okay. Take your shot play downfield. You don't want to sometimes be scared with your play calling. That's a good call by the Calgary Stampeders. We got man coverage. We're going to take our one-on-one matchup. Take the slot who gets the waggle to run by the guy in press man coverage. Really hard for those guys to overcome. All right. Speaking of slot players that's run by coverage for many years, Reggie Bagleton, will see how he is. This is a good home game for the Calgary Stampeders. Just got to figure out what's going on with that guy right there.
Well, Bagleton said last week he wants to be the guy who's in the position to set the right example for everyone in the building. He's taken on that leadership role. One of the 4 captains voted on by his own teammates. 8 years played in Calgary and down with an injury on a running play on the first drive of this ball game. So on the sidelines and obviously in street clothes. And looking forward to Dave Naylor and Farhan Lalji getting an update on exactly what the situation is moving forward here with Reggie Bagleton, one of the important leaders, the voices in the Stampeders locker room. Down by 10, a minute 15 to go. Jake Herslow chops his speed at the 30-yard line and out near the 35. So Nick Arbuckle is back out onto the field. 28 of 36. Really, really high completion percentage, but just missing some of those big chunk plays that you've wanted out of this Argonauts offense, aside from Devontae Coxey, which really injected life into this football game late.
Yeah, and for Nick, once again, it's 2 weeks in a row where he has some critical plays at the end. You know, the interception in the first half is obviously one of the difference. Is the pick 6, throwing the wide side of the field. He's got not a lot of time, so he's got to go really fast. He's got to get some chunk plays right now.
Does Adrian Green have a hat trick of interceptions up his sleeve? Already 2 on the day as Florida Remilade knows it's a passing situation and rips around the corner like he used to do for these Argonauts, but a flag up on the play and looked like interior defensive line jumped.
Yeah.
Offside. Calgary number 97. 5-yard penalty. Repeat first down.
So situational football. They're going on to the offense just so because they know it's a passing scenario. Flo, you see coming off this edge right here, trying to slow him down. I know you have a back out. You'd try to, if you could, you'd try to get somebody to help the tackle with Flo. Help Ryan Hunter.
Arbuckle, fade away, check down underneath, and Calgary will allow that all day. Also, Remilade got around the edge for the sack on that last play, even though it was wiped out via the penalty against Ryan Hunter, who's been trading notes with over the last couple of years after practice.
Well, if you watch Ryan Hunter versus Flo, Flo is in like almost a track sprinter stance right now, and he's like, okay, here we go, pass game, let's go get it.
That time Hunter jumps him, and it gives enough time to get the football out of his hands. Great open field tackle coming downhill on Mayan Williams, who you see is frustrated. Derek Moncrief, he might have got bounced off on that Devontae Coxey touchdown, but wraps up solidly that time on Williams.
Yeah, leaves the Argos now at a 3rd and 2 here, so they got to get the first, and they got to get some yardage.
Hand it off inside, just trying to pick up that first down. They do. Williams bouncing off tacklers. Finally, Richardson gets enough of them, but out to the 55 they go.
Calgary's going to give up that run. Just keep things going. The Argos will keep going to the line of scrimmage, trying to flip the field. They got a long way to go and 2 scores to get.
What an effort from the Calgary Stampeders. Again, you think about just 11 wins over the last 2 football seasons. Looking at going to 2-0 on the year as Arbuckle hit as he releases, tapped up in the air, and incomplete. Micah Tight's got a hand on it.
And for the Stampeders last season, they had 1 win on the road. They were 1-8 on the road last year, so this is a good road win against the Grey Cup champs. A lot of energy in the building for the Argos, getting their rings, the ring ceremony. So it's a good win for this, to go 2-0 for this Stampeders football team.
And the stoic Vernon Adams Jr. looks on as Adrian Green, 2 interceptions, including the pick 6 that really set the tone in the first half before this game opened up and scoring started flooding. Late 3rd, early 4th quarter. Arbuckle flips this one high and away. And Moncrief wondering if he should have taken a slight step to the right, might have had an interception himself.
And I think there's some really good positives to Toronto Argonauts. We'll have to see what's going on with Winton McManus. But I think that, they came into this game saying we got to get better at stopping the run. And for the most part, in 3 quarters, they did a very good job of stopping the run. At least the tailback running the football.
Don Bowman, defensive line coach, on the field rotating his pass rushers, coming over from BC on the coaching staff. In the 3 years with the Lions, BC was never lower than 3rd in CFL sacks. They needed to change the pass rush, got some different bodies, and got Bowman, and now creating some pressure on Arbuckle late in this one as the clock rolls inside, 20 seconds remaining, and Jake Herslow makes the grab for a first down, and they'll convert on 3rd.
Yeah, Bob Slowick talked about John Bowman, Baron Miles. His coaching staff said it's been outstanding to him, helping him with the game, as he says he doesn't have as much experience as those guys do.
Arbuckle crosses the 300-yard mark here as he hangs this one up in the air, and it is knocked away for a moment. It looked as though that might have been an Argonaut, like Dejon Brissett. Not sure if he was the ball or the fall guy, but it almost ended up in his hands either way.
Yeah, what you do here is this is what you call it. Some people call it Big Ben. You run 4 receivers. They get to a spot where there's a diamond. One guy tries to catch it. One guy's above it. One guy's below it. You can see the guys kind of forming a little diamond. So if it gets bumped, one of the other players can catch it. Usually you don't have 2 players right next to each other, though, Marshall. But pretty good execution there in the spaces. And an opportunity. You just got to finish with the ball in their hands.
Well, wouldn't have made a difference based on the time remaining, but man, he had that for a second. It was
going to finish with the ball in hands. Now you got almost every Calgary defender way in the back of the end zone.
And it looks like Flo jumped offside, so Arbuckle once again lost this one high into the end zone. It falls to the turf incomplete, but it will be one more snap because the ex-Argonaut who was traded extends the game.
7. 5-yard penalty. Remains 2nd down.
Yeah, that's something you want to work. When you work this in training camp and practice, last play of a game, everybody on defense can get back. Understand the offense has nothing to lose by going on 2, so they're going to go on 2. So that's something they'll have to work on, be ready.
We'll say the devil's advocate on this when you go, it's a veteran mistake. How could he possibly do that? Extend the game and all the rest. It shows that Falarna Rimlai, to Matthew Shinetti's point earlier from his
still playing football. Still playing.
It doesn't matter if there's 1 second left or it's the first snap of the game. He's still pass rushing.
You have 7 people in the end at the end zone,
and they'll hand it off. And Ryan Williams adds to his impressive tally from the afternoon. Now 9 carries. Lapo, your thoughts on this one as the Calgary Stampeders move to 2-0?
I think for Vernon Adams, I think there's some learning. He had 1 or 2 errant throws today, but last week he had 2 interceptions, 0 interceptions, 301 yards passing. Once again, no TDs this time, but I thought he managed the game much better. He knew when to pull the ball down and go. And again, for this defense, for the Calgary Stampeders, 2 weeks into the season, they look to be a force to stop the football, stop teams from running the football, and they're taking the football away defensively. Both things that they struggled with last year. So really good win for Calgary on the road.
0-2 now, the Toronto Argonauts, but they are back home next week against the Saskatchewan Roughers. The last time Calgary opened on the road in Toronto, 2018, it was a 41-7 victory. This one not nearly as easy, but the results very much the same as we throw it back to Kate in the studio.
And back alongside Enoch Mwamba and Davis Sanchez. And normally I'd give you guys lots of time to talk, but we have 20 seconds before we have to reset this show. So guess what? Jalen Philpott, you get the 20 seconds here. 117 yards. We talk about Tyson so much.
We got to say his name now, huh?
Twin and Vernon Adams, 301 on the season. As Marshall and Lapo said, too, for the Stamps, that was a huge road win, just one last season. And they were 2-0 on the season. We'll be back after this.